personnel who had firsthand exposure to technologies of unknown origin. I did not want anyone to face further retaliation beyond what they had already endured. And unfortunately, a staff member ended up getting in some trouble because of that. After David Grush testified under oath in the summer of 2023 and provided historic disclosure, I was then asked to go to the ICIG and did so in August 2023.
We're just getting
it was very clear early
settled
on
back in here.
Interview,
Today has been a long day,
under oath,
and I haven't
the
streamed
was to
in,
solely
I think,
assess
2
how
days,
much
so
I know and not move forward with an investigation
lost track, really.
with new information I provided them.
Might not have been that long. I have no
the
idea.
aftermath of that IG
Time's just kind of frozen
since
since he's passed, so.
Since my ICIG
Anyway, we're
complaint,
gonna,
I've been prevented from assuming prior employment.
this stuff is streaming right now, and I can't rewind it, so.
Within the intelligence community. In addition, multiple agencies attempted phishing attacks to assess what I had divulged to the Inspector General, including being asked to disclose details of my ICIG complaint during a CI polygraph for a position unrelated to UFO UAP matters as recently as November 2024. As I sit before you today, I and many other whistleblowers have no job prospects, no foreseeable professional future, and a nation every single one of us came forward to defend. Numerous individuals have come forward in various ways to reveal the truth of the UAP reality as patriots and defenders of our nation. Yet many feel discarded, isolated, hopeless, separated from the country they serve. Efforts to rectify this situation for all whistleblowers have been difficult and troubling. And to my fellow whistleblowers and officials who know this information, I offer you my apology, something that I have never gotten, and I'm giving it to you. I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, an oath that demands truth and transparency for our democratic republic to function. Each day these truths remain hidden from our citizens, humanity drifts further from the principles our nation was founded to uphold. Each day, victims of crimes committed by agencies and companies maintaining this secrecy are denied justice is another day our Constitution is shredded. In 2023, Patriots provided this committee and the executive branch with undeniable proof of the UAP reality, and I commend your continued commitment. The future of humanity is one which we either travel to the stars or regress to the Stone Age with this technology. My career has been to deliver critical information to decision makers. Your role as elected by your representatives is to act on it. The time to act is now. Thank you.
Mr. Borland, thank you for your service to our country, and we appreciate you. And we are sorry about how you've been treated, and we will make sure that we try to rectify that situation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Spielberger, please, your opening remarks.
Chairwoman Luna, Ranking Member Crockett, and Task Force members, thank you for the opportunity to testify here today about the importance of strengthening whistleblower protections, especially in the context of national security. I am a senior policy counsel at the Project on Government Oversight, a nonpartisan independent watchdog organization that investigates and exposes waste, corruption, abuse of power, and when the government fails to serve the public or silences those who report wrongdoing. Whistleblowers are the first line of defense to root out fraud, abuse of power, and corruption in our government. Congress relies on whistleblowers so that it can fully exercise its oversight and legislation. Congress to support and protect whistleblowers. Doing so protects the country and ensures our government is more responsive and accountable to the people. National security whistleblowing in particular is a tradition going back to the founding of our country, and over time, national security whistleblowers and their disclosures have impacted some of the most fundamental issues and questions about how we wish to be governed and how our government can better serve its people. From the role the U.S. plays around the world to holding powerful actors accountable, government ethics and transparency, human rights and civil liberties, executive branch authority, First Amendment freedoms of speech and dissent, freedom of the press, and the public's interest and right to know. Despite this invaluable public service, blowing the whistle comes at great personal risk. Whistleblowers risk losing their jobs, careers, livelihoods, and reputations. They can face retaliatory investigations, lawsuits, and even serious criminal charges. and they can endure deep mental, emotional, and psychological harm. All of that risk to speak the truth, to ensure that agencies fulfill their core missions, and that they serve the best interests of the people. Those who retaliate against whistleblowers don't just violate their legal rights, they inflict real harm on our government and betray the public's trust. Targeting whistleblowers instead of the corruption they expose wastes agency resources and further allows that corruption to continue unaddressed. It can instill a chilling effect across an agency, fostering a climate of fear and distrust, quieting dissent and free speech, and deterring potential whistleblowers from coming forward in the future. Whistleblowers are often some of the most dedicated and principled public servants we have because of their willingness to put themselves on the line to do what's right. And Congress has historically supported them, again, on a bipartisan basis, but unfortunately, whistleblowing has increasingly become more politicized, with support for whistleblowers often hinging on which party is in power and which party is politically inconvenienced by the misconduct being exposed. But to be clear, targeting whistleblowers individually risks undermining whistleblowing, period. POGO advises members of Congress on both sides of the aisle to focus on the evidence, not the individual. We will always need whistleblowers to achieve the government that best serves its people, because when people of conscience, integrity, and good character refuse to speak up out of fear, complacency, or self-preservation and leave corruption to fester behind closed doors, that is probably the most dangerous risk of all. If we are serious about increasing government transparency and restoring the public's trust, we need public servants committed to the truth. Whistleblowers need safe and effective channels to make lawful disclosures. They need stronger protections against retaliation, and when they do face retaliation, they need a fair shot to be made whole. Congress has made strides to pass whistleblower legislation, and these laws need to be updated and expanded so that whistleblowers truly receive the protections they need, retaliators are held accountable, and we can achieve the type of government the people deserve. We strongly urge Congress to continue its historic tradition of championing the rights and protections of all whistleblowers. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify here this morning. POGO is committed to working with you and the Oversight Committee to address these critical issues. I look forward to any questions.
Thank you, sir, very much. Additionally, without objection, the following members are waived onto the task force for the purpose of questioning witnesses at today's hearing: Representative Perry of Pennsylvania and Representative Grothman of Wisconsin. Sorry, and Representative Biggs from Arizona. I already got you, but yeah, we're good. Without objection, so ordered. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questioning. Also, as my friend Mr. Moskowitz might have to go, would you like to go now? Okay, all right. Mr. Borland, in your testimony, you described witnessing large triangular craft while stationed at Langley Air Force Base in 2012. Can you explain what you observed in terms of size, behavior, and why you're confident it was not conventional technology?
Great question, ma'am. So on the base, I lived in the barracks. There was a little smoke pit outside. I was there on the telephone and looking across to the flight line, and I see a white light pop up and stop about 100 feet in the air. I thought it was a weather balloon. I've seen tests from there before, weeknight, normal thing, not surprising. I actually finished my cigarette and I began walking up towards the flight line. There is a track, and because I was on 3 months of night work, I would walk the track at night when we were weathered down. And as I began walking towards the flight line and the track, the light then flies across the base, across the flight line, and as it flies to me, a triangle manifests around the light. I can't tell you if it's active camouflage. I can't tell you if it appeared around the light, but I can tell you that it was a white light, and then it was a triangle. It stopped about 100 feet in front of me and approximately 100 feet above me. My telephone got extremely hot, completely froze, dead. I remember how thick it was. It was between 1 to 2 stories thick, equilateral triangle. I could never see the top of it, and the edges were 90 degrees. There were 4 lights in total. one light on each corner and a larger light in the center, 2 to 3 times the size of the corner lights. But what was really odd was the outside, the best way to describe it is like looking at a James Webb telescope picture where you have the colors and then the black background. So the craft itself was this black metallic flake paint, but on top of the craft was this gold, lava, plasma, some type of fluid going over and around the craft. I'm under this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then the center light flashes 2 to 3 times, no sound, immediately shoots up to commercial jet level minimum, in my opinion, and I immediately feel static electricity all over my body, and then I smell the smell of after a thunderstorm or lightning storm, that really strong summer thunderstorm smell. Gets up to flight level. I'm trying to get my phone reset, and I can only see the center light at this point. If I didn't actually see it take off, I would have thought it was a star. And then it hovers up there, and it begins to slowly move due east out over the Atlantic Ocean. I finally got my phone reset. The entire thing was about, from the time I saw the light pop up near the hangar until it took off out over the ocean, was about 15 minutes.
And following up to that question, after you disclose this information to the intelligence community, Inspector General, you're subject to phishing attempts and job blacklisting. How widespread do you think this is across the intelligence community for those who raise concerns regarding UAP programs?
It's a difficult question to answer. I think prior to David Grush and people beginning this process of bringing people into awareness of the reality of these programs and certain things people have witnessed, probably extremely widespread. I think today there's still an issue, but because people are able to come before you and people are speaking out, I think it has been somewhat less. I would hope, though, that people would, because if this goes back into closed doors, this is going to get really ugly.
What type of behavior have you witnessed from former Aero Director Sean Kilpatrick as well as his staff in relate to this information you provided to them? Did they ever try to classify this information as non-human technology?
Good question. The problem with this is that I know what I experienced firsthand, and I know other things. I think the staff at Aero that I met with in March of 2023, I think they were good people doing the job they were told to do. I did not meet with Kirkpatrick. He was either not present or did not want to meet me that day. However, they did classify information about the reality of this subject, and it was very concerning because in my Aero MFR, they had actually referenced a former staff member that was the one who told me to go there, and they probably shouldn't have done that.
And real quick before my time is up, and we might go to second round of questioning just so you're all aware, how important, given everything that you've seen and experienced, is the UAP Disclosure Act of 2025 in restoring both public accountability and trust?
I think very important. I would hope, though, that the 7-year window could be shrunk, my opinion, but very important. The truth needs to be known.
Thank you very much. I now recognize Jared Moskowitz of Florida.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you for allowing me to wave on to the committee. I remember, the last committee when we had a bunch of former military personnel folks that either served on bases, were pilots, or were in different programs experiencing knowledge. It made me recognize that the narrative has changed, right? It's politically convenient for the government if you all weren't military folks in suits. It would be much better if you pulled up in Winnebagos and were wearing hats.
I'm not sure if you guys hear it.
And so the picture of this, because that's important for the American people on how you tell a story, what the message looks like, and who the messenger is. So this is now the second or third committee where we have former military folks with impeccable records, with information and knowledge. And it's definitely clear on a bipartisan basis that we have to protect our whistleblowers. There's no doubt. And in a day in which it's really hard to tell what's true or not from a political standpoint. And so I don't really know what is true. I don't know on this subject. But I do know when we're being lied to. And we are definitely being lied to. There's just no doubt about that. Mr. Wiggins, I want to talk to you. I find your background and testimony compelling. When you first saw what you were looking at, what were your first thoughts?
My first thoughts were, I think everything that I was told and taught as a kid and as growing adult no longer, was applicable. If I'm able to see something that I thought defies gravity in such a way, then what else could be possible? That was my first thought.
So did you think what you were looking at was a weapons program that you were unaware of, or did you think what you were looking at was obviously some extraterrestrial?
When I saw mine, I think that it was a light. I mean, now I know what it is. A program, maybe, but not on point of what they think.
I want to be as skeptical as everyone else and just hope to know the information.
Anyone in the U.S. government tell you what you were looking at to try to dissuade you from what you thought it was?
No.
So no one was like, oh, there was some anomaly with the technology. No one from the government did that?
No one.
How do you think you were treated when you reported this information or have talked about, the Tic Tac video is well out there. It's well reported. How were you treated?
I've had no pushback at all. I haven't had anyone reach out to me or try to, dissuade me in either direction, militarily speaking. So I was treated fair, and I appreciate the Navy itself with assisting me with coming here to being able to testify.
That's good. So what do you think the American people should take away from watching your video, right? Because when we watch it, obviously, right, we've never seen anything like that. It defies what we know to be technologically possible. What are we supposed to think? Someone's lying about something. Someone's hiding something, right? That's not normal what you looked at.
I think what the American people should think when seeing that video, along with others before me, is that there is something out there, and we should know as the people what it is.
Right, and so let's eliminate possibilities. So they didn't come to you and say there was a technological error with what you were looking at. So we put that aside, right? They didn't say it was broken. So we look at that and we see something. So it's either a weapons program being reverse engineered by our governments or other governments, or it's nobody's government.
Or it's aliens.
It's not from here. Those are it.
There's two things. Yeah, it's been like this for 80 years. Why haven't we been talking like this for 80 years?
Borland, when you first experienced what you were looking at, and what did you do next? Like, what was your next step after it had passed and you were done?
Sorry, guys.
I actually kind of laughed to myself and said, okay, so this exists as well. Worked in enough programs, been exposed to enough that I was like, okay, so this is a real thing. I went back, walked the track, talked with a couple of my friends about it. I did talk with some of my coworkers, one in particular, which I thought was a joke, and it definitely wasn't, was like, you probably should never say this to anybody. And then what happened to me happened, so.
What about you, Mr., how do you pronounce your last name? Nusatelli. And sorry, I know I'm running out of time, Madam Chairwoman. So obviously your incident happened well before we could record things on cell phones and things of that nature, right? What did you do when you first experienced? Because what you saw, right, you saw it happen like right out of your base.
Correct.
So tell me what you did after you saw that. What was like your next move? And I want to hear what your experience was.
My next move, I went into my house after it left. I made sure no one had been abducted, and I picked up the landline. I called the Security Forces Command Center. I reported it. I requested that they give me a call back and make notifications up the chain of command. I got a call back in about 15 minutes. They reported that the weather station reported no balloons or aircraft, nothing on radar, no aircraft inbound or outbound. So I got that notification. And then within the following day or two, me and the other witnesses wrote statements. We prepared a report, and then we filed all that information.
Madam Chairman, thank you for your indulgence in my questioning, and thank you for continuing to lead on this subject. What do you and your friends think about it today? You all have talked about it, I mean, so what do you think about your experience as a collective group? That'll be my last question, Madam Chairwoman.
I mean, we've been talking about this for 20 years. We don't know what we saw. What we saw changed our lives and the way we think about everything. It was incredibly profound. The object I saw, I don't even know if it was an object. It was a light. It was an orb. It didn't look like a craft, but it did look solid. And that's what we talk about. We noticed the object, and this was a pattern across all the encounters. Someone would see a light. They would pay attention to the light. And then the object responds. It performs for you. And then they come down and they investigate you. So it's almost like they're curious. So that's the thing we primarily talk about. Why did it come after we noticed it? Maybe it noticed us after we noticed it. You're welcome.
I now recognize Representative Mace for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank all of our witnesses for being here today. Mr. Borland, I'd like to start with you and ask a few questions. Were there any other witnesses when you saw the equilateral triangle? Were there other witnesses that saw the same thing?
Not to my knowledge, ma'am. At that point, the only people that would be awake is those of us that were doing operations for the GWAT and then security forces, so not to my knowledge.
And do you think that, in your opinion, that the equilateral triangle was the U.S. government's technology?
I did once upon a time, but knowing what I know now, I'll have to answer that question in a skiff, probably.
Well, my next question is, you teased us, so knowing what you know now means what?
I know enough to know that if you want an answer to that question, go to Arrow. They have the answer.
Do you think it was a foreign government?
I do not, no.
And Arrow was supposed to be disclosing. The last time I was in a skiff with Arrow, they said they were going to be doing disclosures. Had they been doing much of that?
I don't have an answer to you you. I don't know. I know what Arrow reports publicly, and I know what I've been through.
Yeah. And some of this stuff can be, I think, debunked, right? Sometimes there are weather balloons that look kind of a little funky, or drones or whatever, depending on the angle, direction, speed, etc. Are you scared for your safety?
That's a complicated question. So being here today, if I say the wrong word, technically I can be charged with espionage. Espionage is a death penalty. Whistleblowers have faced it. John Kiriakou, for example. I am not scared for my physical safety in the sense of an agency or company coming to kill me, but I have no job. My career has been tarnished. I'm unemployed, living off of unemployment for the next 3-4 weeks until that's gone. So it's a complicated question.
Have there been stories leaked about your life to try to discredit you in the public eye?
As of now, I don't know.
We know they did that to Mr. Grush.
I am aware, yes, ma'am.
They leaked his private medical information, horrific things.
It is.
Okay, you said in your testimony earlier with the chairwoman, you know other things. I guess that has to be mentioned in a skiff.
It would.
The other things.
It would, pending I'm even legally allowed to speak on, and the people in the room are even legally allowed to hear it.
And is would we need to know the compartmentalized word, like what the code word is, or the name of the program, the special access program, in order to even hear it? You have to know the word, right?
I would suggest
the name of it, right?
I would suggest that to be asked to DNI Gabbard and work with her for that, because I can't give you the answer on what is the requirement.
But this is what the U.S. government does, right? They compartmentalize the information. Only certain people know the name of the program, and if you don't know it, you can't get the information. If you don't have the name, you don't know what to ask for. Even when we're reviewing the budget, we go into a skiff, we look at DOD budget and the budget of black box programs, and we don't know what we're looking at because we don't know what these programs are. Is it a way for the government to hide from Congress what's really going on and where the money's going?
In my opinion, absolutely, yes.
You mentioned, too, in your testimony earlier that, quote, you went to speak with the government and they said somebody's name, a colleague's name, and you said they shouldn't have mentioned that staff person's name. What does that mean?
A Senate staffer who is the one who helped me get to Aero recommended me I go there, gave me the email and the phone number because I could not find that information at all at the time. In fact, I believe you guys have talked about how Aero didn't even have a website for quite a period of time.
We were told they were going to do disclosures, both what they've debunked, because some of it can be debunked, and then what they haven't been able to debunk. And to my knowledge, it hasn't been a thing. I only have 1 minute left, so Mr. Knapp, we are definitely going to you. Watched every documentary. You guys have done you and Jeremy have done a terrific job. I usually have more questions than I have answers. I think we all do, and you guys are doing a terrific job to bring information to the public. Do you think that any of this is a psyop by the U.S. government?
Entirely possible. I mean, our government and other governments have admitted that they've tried to use UFOs to cover secret projects. But I think they also do some reverse engineering of those claims. So years after people start seeing UFOs over Area 51, for example, they come up with the story, oh yeah, that was, we planted that story. So I read in a major newspaper just a couple of weeks ago, they planted this story. An Air Force colonel went out into the desert, went to a bar at Rachel, and gave them some fake UFO photos, and that's how the whole story about Area 51 started, which is preposterous.
Yeah, and I didn't even get to the crash retrieval program stuff yet, Ms. Chairwoman. There's just so much. Okay, thank you so much for your time today. I wish we had more time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I now recognize Ms. Crockett for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you so much to each of the witnesses that have come before us today. The federal government has had a long-standing overclassification issue in general. We all know that, from the assassinations of MLK and Malcolm X to the COINTELPRO and torture programs to now UAPs. The federal government has kept the American public in the dark about issues of immense public interest. The federal government has routinely made excuses for failing to provide transparency to the public, the most common of which is national security concerns. Mr. Spielberger, can you provide an example of when national security was inappropriately used as a pretext for classification?
Congresswoman, probably one of the most infamous examples of that is the 9/11 Commission that found that overclassification was a key factor in the failure to adequately prevent the attacks of that day.
In addition to that, what lessons from these oversight failures should guide Congress in approaching UAP oversight?
Generally speaking, we would advise this Congress to ensure that agencies adopt a general policy in favor of disclosure instead of a knee-jerk needing to overclassify information and documents. We should ensure that when information is classified or deemed sensitive, it's only for legitimate national security and privacy concerns. And we would recommend adding additional factors to the considerations of cost, value, and certainly to the extent that it's critical for the public interest and the public's right to know, especially when we are talking about these very serious national security concerns and implications.
Can you speak to how whistleblowers have historically helped Congress uncover the truth in other areas and how that might apply here?
Absolutely. So again, Congress has always relied on whistleblowers coming forward and making disclosures in a number of different issues across different agencies, anything from national security to airline safety, railway safety, environmental concerns, workplace health and safety, a lot of issues coming out of the COVID pandemic, for example. Whistleblowers have come forward with important disclosures on just about any critical issue affecting our government and affecting the American people, all of which have grave implications for the rights and protections that we have and how we live our lives in communities across the country.
How important is it for whistleblowers to have strong protections when it comes to UAP-related disclosures or disclosures of other topics of excessive government secrecy?
It's absolutely vital. This has been one of the disappointing failures of doing this work, of advocating for stronger whistleblower protections. We recognize the invaluable public service that brave whistleblowers play in coming forward, again, taking all of these risks that we've heard about just to speak the truth, to get important information out in the public consciousness, but they can only do so when we have safe and secure channels for reporting, when there is trust in the independence of agency watchdogs like inspectors general, like the Office of Special Counsel, like the Merit Systems Protection Board, that play critical roles in investigating whistleblower disclosures and enforcing the protections of whistleblowers. All of that is essential to allow whistleblowers to keep coming forward and playing these incredibly important public roles.
Thank you so much. Let me just say this. People look at Congress, especially now, and they see a lack of unity. They don't see the ability for us to come together really on much of anything. I will say that I do applaud the chairwoman and the work of this committee, because for once I feel like we are focusing on governing, which should be about transparency. The reality is that we cause more harm than good when we allow a lack of transparency to fester. It allows for all types of conspiracy theories instead of us actually making the investments that we need to make to get the information and actually provide it to the American people. The reason that I wanted to focus on making sure that we answer some questions specifically around the protections of those that are willing to come forward is because the only way that we can make this government actually work for all of us is if no matter where you are in this federal government, you feel as if you are safe when you come forward with information of any issue. And so I do want to thank you for all of your stories. The reality is that we only get 5 minutes, and the vast majority of everything that you have to say cannot be contextualized within 5 minutes. But I know that my colleagues are going to get to kind of pulling some more of that out. But again, I really just want to thank you for your courage in this moment, and thank you for your service to our country.
I now recognize Mr. Burchett from Tennessee for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Lady, and thank you, Ranking Member Crockett. I see a lot of friends out there, and I see a couple enemies, so I'll kind of remember that. But it's a pleasure being here. I want to remind people, too, this thing is an ongoing deal. We're not going to get this overnight. We've been fighting this battle, some of y'all, for 30 years and maybe longer. I hope we just keep focused on what we're trying to get to is total disclosure. We get a little wrapped up in a lot of things, but the government has something, and they need to turn it over to us. We pay their dadgum salary, you pay our salary, and you ought to get more out of us than you do. And that's what disgusts me about this whole thing. I think they're just trying to run the clock out on us, really. They'll poke us a little, and they'll make jokes to us and try to pull us off the target, but I think we know where we're at, and that's why they're firing at us, because we are over the target. My first question is, Mr. Knapp, I recently introduced the UAP Whistleblower Protection Act to help provide whistleblower protection to federal personnel for disclosing the use of federal taxpayer funds to investigate UFOs. I still don't want to say UAPs. How can Congress further increase whistleblower protections?
I think you got to unleash the dogs and go track down the money and where it goes, because a lot of this stuff has been moved out of government. Sure. As you know, Rep. Burchett, it's been given to private contractors who've stashed it away. They've had it for so long that there's nobody left inside government, or very few, who know where it is.
And they do that to keep us from FOIA, correct?
Yeah, it's to keep it from FOIA. And I think that the contractors who've had this stuff for a very long time set their own standards about who is allowed to know what. And it's a very small group that ever cracks that. I think Representative Luna has been looking at the use of classifications to hide things. I'm not sure that even this committee getting security clearances that should allow you to see this stuff would allow you to follow where it really goes.
I worry about the people that are looking at it and don't even know what they're looking at. I mean, it's gone through so many, I mean, since Roswell, for instance. I mean, you think there's nobody even alive that was around any of that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think they've made much progress from the people that I've talked to. I don't think they've made much progress in learning that technology. Might have made some, but you wonder, you know, the implication is tic-tac. Oh, yeah, that's ours. What flew over Washington, D.C. in '52, is that ours too? When are you going to break that out? You guys authorized tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on weapon systems that can't do half of what we've seen UFOs do. So when do they break this out if it's really a classified project could change the world? I don't think they've made much progress, and I think they've been lying to us and to you and the rest of the world, and they're still doing it.
Yes, sir, I agree with you. How did you manage to obtain the classified Russian UAP documents, and how did you get them back in the United States?
Well, I met this Russian physicist who was in the United States lecturing.
And I want to clarify that. I can't even take a thing of honey home on my airplane when I fly back to Tennessee.
Yeah,
so
I did something pretty dumb.
And I'm bitter about it, but go ahead.
I did something kind of dumb. I met with these officials who, you know, during that time period, glasnost, perestroika, the Russians were trying to open up to the world, and I saw it as a window of opportunity, and it was. And we were able to talk these folks into providing us information that otherwise we would never have seen. Some of that was classified. I found out that they only stamped the top pages of these documents that were classified, so I just removed them. I removed those pages, and I carried them out. And if they'd caught me, I'd be in a gulag still.
Yeah. We'd be saying, what happened to George Knapp? Oh, yeah. What happened to the Russians that came forward to you in 1993, and were there any repercussions for them?
Well, there were. The first thing that happened when I talked about this after getting back and going through the files and things and sifting through it, the Russian physicist who had helped us introduced all these people wrote back and said there was a huge eruption, that there was the real right, far autocratic forces that wanted a return of the USSR had really go after these guys. They described them as traitors. Nikolai Kapranov, the physicist friend of mine, said, look, if this had happened 5 years earlier, we would be in prison. If it had happened 10 years earlier, we would have been shot. Right. Luckily, at that point, Putin was not in power, but none of those people that we talked to on that trip in 1993 would ever talk to me again. I went back in 1996, and it was like I had the plague. I spoke to different people, but they were scared. And eventually, the story was spun where the Ministry of Defense officials who gave us this information were described as ufologists who said there was nothing really significant to these files. They didn't really find anything a big deal. And I can tell you, you'll see those files that I shared with you, they did find stuff. There was an incident in October of 1982 over an ICBM base where UFOs popped up, was observed over this base where the missiles are pointed at us, United States. These UFOs perform incredible maneuvers. They split apart, they fuse back together, they'd appear and disappear, and right at the end of this 4-hour period, the launch control codes for the ICBMs lit up. Something entered the correct codes. The missiles were fired up and ready to launch, and they could not shut it down. The Russian officers were panicking. The UFOs they disappeared. The launch control system goes back to normal. Colonel Sokolov and his team came in, took the thing apart, could not figure out what it was. It wasn't a power surge or EMPs or some of the baloney excuses that our country has given for similar events involving our nuclear missiles. They thought it was a message from wherever the UFOs were from. And that's a chilling thing. I mean, we were a couple of seconds away from World War III starting, and the UFOs were responsible for it.
All right, I'm out of time, but real quick, who are the contractors that have this material, the corporations?
Well, one of them is Lockheed. And I'll tell you, I mean, I'm not saying Lockheed's the bad guys. They're doing what they were asked to do. Sure. They have lied about this because that's what they're supposed to do. But Lockheed would be one. There's a list I can give you, Congressman. Some of the big ones, the usual suspects.
Okay, thank you. Yield back, Chair Lady. Sorry for going over.
It's all good.
It's all George Knapp's fault.
I now recognize Ms. Boebert for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief Wiggins, based on your training and operational experience, could the behavior that you witnessed, a transmedium object vanishing without a sound, be explained by any known technology that we possess or other governments possess?
It cannot.
And has any government agency debriefed you or any of your shipmates regarding the EOIR and radar confirmed UAP encounter aboard USS Jackson?
No one has, no, ma'am.
What was that encounter like when you brought that up? If you want to briefly summarize that, when you brought that to their attention and then you were not provided any follow-up, who was told and how did you feel when there was no contact back to you?
As far as the actual incident happening,
yes,
or
sir.
the reporting level?
Yes, Chief.
It was within the event happening. My duties are to report to the tactical action officer on watch while we're standing watch. So tactical action officer was there. I made my report. I've not had any discussion outside of that day. There's been no communication to me or requests from me within side of the military. But speaking of that actual incident itself, once the report was made to the tactical action officer, that's when I made the decision to ask the individual watchstander that was controlling Sapphire to be able to slew into the location. And that's what you see in the video itself is when the watchstander is slewing in and kind of showing us what we're looking at. But outside of that, that's as far as the reporting went that I know of.
Thank you, Chief. Just for the sake of time, Mr. Nusatelli, has RO, the Air Force, or the FBI ever followed up with you personally about the Red Square event?
I did have follow-up by Aero, nothing with the Air Force. The Aero office updated me, I think, at least 2 times. They let me know that they were unable to locate any records, that the records had been destroyed by the Air Force. The Air Force is destroying all their police records every 3 years on a schedule. So
you were informed that these documents were destroyed.
Well, I have a Freedom of Information Act from the Air Force that states clearly that they destroy all police records on a 3-year schedule.
Okay. So they were sitting on documentation, destroyed it, refused to question any of the lead investigators, anything leading into this investigation?
Yeah, basically they destroyed all the police records. So you couldn't even call the Air Force and ask them if there was a vehicle accident in that time frame. So that's a big problem. We're losing data in real time. So we'll never be able to go back and track.
I think our federal government has a history of destroying records. Thank you very much, Mr. Nusatelli. Dr. Borland, as a geospatial intelligence officer, have you seen classified data indicating UAPs operate in restricted U.S. airspace, and has that information been withheld from Congress?
I have not in U.S. airspace. That is intelligence oversight, so I did not have domestic authorities.
After filing your Inspector General complaint over retaliation inside the Pentagon's UAP office, did you receive any kind of protection or just more retaliation?
Within the IG or Aero, ma'am?
Either.
Aero, they went after the staff member and classified everything, shut that down. The IG, to this day, I don't even know if my complaint's active. I know my attorney that represented me was very, very, very concerned, and the best of my understanding, I was determined credible, not urgent.
And do you think that experience would suggest that the internal UAP investigations may be compromised?
Possibly. I mean, it's so hard because this goes back to people doing the job they're told to do, and very few people are going to want to give up their careers, 20, 30-year pension, get rid of their kids' health care, get rid of their house. It's possible, yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Borland. Mr. Spielberger, do national security whistleblowers currently have any external appeals processes to challenge retaliation, or are they just stuck relying on the same agencies that they're accusing?
Congresswoman, this is one of the biggest concerns that we at POGO have, basically around the independence of investigations and accountability for retaliation. Basically, yes, national security whistleblowers have to rely on internal administrative processes that go through agency inspector generals. There are some differentiations, but the bottom line is that they are forced to rely on protection from the same agencies and people who they are alleging retaliated against them.
Yes, well, I thank you all for your bravery. We are out of time here. Thank you so much for coming forward, and we will do everything that we can to ensure that you are all protected. Thank you for trying to bring truth and transparency to the American people. Madam Chair, I yield.
I now recognize Mr. Burleson for about 5 minutes.
Thank you, everyone. It takes such great courage to come forward, and we acknowledge that, and I hope that you see that we are taking that seriously. And so very thankful for what you're doing today. I'm also very thankful for previous witnesses that have come forward. I see Matthew Brown in the audience. He courageously stepped forward and was as a witness. I encourage everybody to look and seek his testimony. I want to thank the people that came in our first hearing. Ryan Graves, David Grush, David Fravor, and in our second hearing, Admiral Gallaudet, Lou Elizondo, and Mr. Gold, and the many others that have come forward. We hear you, and it's time that we, enough is enough. It's time that we take action. Look, I'm not jumped to the conclusion that I believe that there are, aliens coming from another planet, but I'm open to that. And I think that it's our responsibility, especially when we're seeing that we have a government that is actively blocking information from us. Just last night, I tried to get an amendment onto the National Defense Authorization Act that fit in the germaneness of that bill to have UAP disclosure. And conveniently, it was named non-germane, mostly deemed by staff, not even an elected official. This is the kind of stuff that we repeatedly see. Last year, we were blocked by someone in House administration from being able to receive a full briefing from Arrow. So not an elected official, but someone in staff blocked us. And I've had it. Enough is enough. I want to cue up a video that I've been given. And as before it starts, I'm going to describe, this was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. That you cannot see that drone. And so I'm not going to explain it to you. You'll see exactly what it does. This is when it zoomed out, so you can still see it traveling. So, Mr. Knapp, have you heard about, events like this occurring? And what information might you have?
I have heard about events like this. I have heard about this event. Jeremy Corbell and I talked about it in one of our episodes a while back. We did not have the video, though. There are servers where there's a whole bank of these kind of videos that Congress has not been allowed to see, that the public hasn't been allowed to see. Occasionally, some of that stuff gets out in the wild, and it comes our way. It should be going to you. The public should be seeing this stuff. And why you're not allowed to, I don't know. But that's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah, what the hell is that? What
again,
flies like that?
Again, I'm not going to speculate what it is, but the question is, why are we being blocked from this information consistently? I want to ask this just question. How in the world, this is the document, I want to enter this in for the record if it hasn't already been entered, Madam Chair. The document that you provided on thread 3, This is a huge file. How in the world did you smuggle this out of Russia?
Carefully.
In your socks?
I don't think I want to be really specific about it because I might have to go back there and get some more sometime. Although,
Okay.
no, that'd be crazy to do that. Well, I took the top pages off that were stamped with the security signature, and I carried them out on my person. But the rest of them, I just threw in my suitcase and threw some caviar in there as a distraction as well, and hoped for the best. Otherwise, I'd be a citizen of Siberia right now.
And you had you reported James Lakatsky came to you with government possession of NHI craft and how they ultimately gained entry. Can you testify to the veracity of that claim?
Dr. Lakatsky is an honorable man who served most of his career with the DIA, a very trusted, high-level rocket scientist and intelligence analyst who inspired the OSAP program, as I said earlier. And in full disclosure, I've co-written 2 books with him. He dropped this on myself and our other co-author out of the blue. And it took 14 months for us to get DOPSR approval for him to release 2 sentences on that. He said this craft, we had managed to get inside of it. It had no wings, no rotor, no tail. It had no fuel tanks. They didn't know how it flew or how it was operated. It clearly looked like it was aerodynamic, but he would not go further. He's a by-the-book guy, and until he gets clearance to say more about that, I don't think we're going to hear much more. But it's not ours. It wasn't ours. We didn't make it. We didn't know who made it and how it was built and how it operated. We've got at least one. And I don't know, I think that's enough confirmation that we do have recovered discs and materials.
Lastly, Mr. Borland, in the classified realm, have you been exposed to undeniable confirmation of NHI technology? And then my second question is BASE Systems involved in any way with reverse engineering exploitation of non-human intelligence craft?
Yeah, we're gonna have to have a conversation this Skip for that. Whether I'm legally even allowed to answer that, and whether you're even allowed to hear it, sir.
Okay. Again, you can sense our frustration, and so I just want to thank you for coming forward. We will continue to fight because look, this is about making sure that this government belongs to the people and restoring the republic the way it was intended to be. Madam Chair, I also have further witnesses of courageous individuals. It was given to me by Dr. Stephen Greer, including Michael Herrera and his testimony. We have Roderick Castle and his testimony, Randy Anderson, his testimony, Stephen Digna, and others, 3 others, all saying similar things to what the witnesses today have said, and I would like to enter that into the record as well.
No objection.
Thank you.
I now recognize Representative Lee for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we need to make sure that we don't get distracted by sensational stories only of unidentified anomalous phenomena and lose track of what the core of this hearing is about. This is all a perfect example of why whistleblowers are so important and why it's so important that we step up and protect them. With Trump, RFK Jr., EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, and others committed to dismantling government and firing professionals who do dare to speak out against the threats this administration's disastrous policies create, we have to focus on protecting all whistleblowers, not only the ones who are reporting on UAP. I'd like to thank the whistleblowers who have agreed to come before the committee today and speak their truth. This administration's claims to care about waste, fraud, and abuse, and so often it is the whistleblowers who care and who are the tip of the sword fighting against the real waste, fraud, and abuse. One study found that whistleblowers expose fraud at more than twice the rate of third-party auditors. So, Mr. Spielberger, what are some of the best examples of whistleblowers exposing fraud and abuse in the federal government?
Thank you, Congresswoman. Again, whistleblowers have played such a vital role across so many different issues. One prominent example goes back to the 2014 VA waitlist scandal. POGO actually played a very instrumental role coordinating with Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. At that time, we received tips and whistleblower disclosures from over 800 different individuals talking about the VA subjecting veterans to extensive wait times in order to get the basic standard of care that they deserve. It's certainly prolonged serious illnesses, even contributing to hastened deaths, and we were able to help shed more light on that issue, which I think just emphasizes the importance, even outside of the national security context. We are often still talking about serious issues and even life and death concerns.
And unfortunately, whistleblowing can lead to serious repercussions and retaliation, especially in this vindictive and lawless administration. Mr. Spielberger, in the past, what kinds of retaliation have they faced, and what are we seeing today under the Trump administration?
So we've certainly heard about a number of different examples of retaliation. One that I'd like to highlight that Mr. Borland referenced previously is retaliation through abuse of the security clearance process. That can have grave implications not just for a whistleblower, but also their ability to seek legal counsel and defend themselves against retaliation. And when we look at the past several months of this administration, unfortunately, we've seen a really systematic approach toward dismantling the nonpartisan civil service. We've seen the mass firings. We've seen undermining of independent agency watchdogs, mass firings of inspectors general, undermining the Office of Special Counsel, the Merit Systems Protection Board. Again, these entities that are meant to be independent and play a critical role in investigating whistleblower disclosures and ensuring that their rights are protected.
Yeah. Thank you. In 1989, Congress passed the Whistleblower Protection Act and then broadened it again in 2012 to ensure that federal workers could feel free to come forward to their elected officials. And it's a good thing we did, because whistleblowers have played a more important role than ever since Trump has taken office. It was thanks to a whistleblower that we learned that Doge allegedly put every single American's personal security information at risk by bypassing safeguards and copying all this data to an unsecure server. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a New York Times article titled, quote, "Doge put critical Social Security data at risk," whistleblower says.
Good to go.
Thanks. We've had whistleblowers at the National Labor Relations Board reveal that Doge minions may have shipped case files outside of the agency, possibly to help then co-president Elon Musk continue to exploit his workers. And last week, whistleblowers at the National Institute of Health came forward to say that RFK Jr.'s vaccine misinformation campaign had pervaded even the highest levels of the agency. Typically, whistleblowers have an inspector general they can rely on to investigate their claims and register issues with agency leadership. But President Trump has fired or demoted over 20 inspectors general. If I may ask one more question, Mr. Spielberger, can you explain how eroding the independence and capabilities of inspectors general further endanger these whistleblowers?
Absolutely. So again, whistleblowers already face incredibly great challenges in coming forward under normal circumstances. And when we erode these entities that are expected and required to enforce whistleblower protections, fairly investigate their disclosures, it calls into question the integrity of their investigations and findings, whether they'll take whistleblowers seriously when they come forward, and whether we can trust that they will use their authority to enforce the protections of whistleblowers who do come forward, essentially whether they will continue in their role as an independent watchdog or basically become a lapdog for a current or future president.
Thank you. And I will take no more liberties. I yield back.
Thank you. I now recognize Mr. Crane for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Chairwoman, for holding this hearing. Thank you to the witnesses for appearing. In the effort of transparency here, I got to admit to the witnesses that, growing up, I really never believed in UFOs or any of this stuff. I always thought it was a little kooky and whatnot, but after hearing your testimony from honorable service members, watching videos like my colleague Mr. Burleson just presented, I gotta admit I've become a believer. Not that I know where these things come from or what they really are up to, but I'd like to start with asking the witnesses. Mr. Nusatelli, you were in the Air Force, right?
Yes.
Did you believe in UFOs prior to your encounter?
I've always been interested.
Okay. Yes. Chief Wiggins, you're currently in the Navy, is that correct?
Correct.
Did you believe in UFOs before your encounter?
I did. I'm from Las Vegas, and I've watched George Knapp my whole life.
Okay. What about you, Mr. Borland?
I have always been open to where facts go, so.
Were you guys scared or hesitant to come forward and tell your story because of fear and believing that you might be reprimanded or ostracized from society because of your stories? Mr. Niston-Tiller?
Yes, absolutely. I probably would not have come forward if I didn't have documentation to prove some of my story, and I also wouldn't have come forward without the people that paved the way for us in, the first congressional hearing. So,
Chief, what about you?
Once I got the okay from the Navy from top down, that gave me a level of relief. Prior to that, I didn't have any thought left or right of that, but thank the Navy to give me the go-ahead, and that gave me the relief that I would not have any level of reprisal or anything happen to me.
Mr. Borland, how about you?
Absolutely. I mean, after I went through everything, it was pretty clear that I caused a major issue in the executive branch, so I did what I was supposed to do, and that's why I haven't spoken publicly. That's why I'm happy to be here. This is how I wanted this to be done in regards to me.
Mr. Borland, why do you think that you faced reprimand and discipline for your effort to come forward and be transparent about what you saw?
About what I saw is the reason why I got into what I know and has been disclosed to Aero and the IG, and I think that information, well, it was labeled an extremely sensitive national security issue.
Thank you. Mr. Knapp, I've watched many of your videos on Joe Rogan and other places. One of the big questions, I think, for many of us is why do you believe that the federal government refuses to be transparent about this issue?
I think there's probably multiple reasons. At the start, when these things first started invading our skies in large numbers, we were scared. It was right after World War II, and we didn't know what they were, and they didn't want to panic the public, and that was probably a good call. Over time, I think the lying sort of became institutionalized, Flights over Washington, D.C. in 1952, they're seen, they're captured on radar, jets are chased after these objects, and then we get an explanation it was a temperature inversion. And those kind of lies have been told for a long time. What was told to me by an investigator from Congress, a guy named Richard D'Amato, who was sent after this story by Robert Byrd and Harry Reid, he came out to Nevada, tried to get into Area 51, did get in there, looked around, talked to people, trying to get to the bottom of it. He believed that this program, reverse engineering, et cetera, was inside, had been moved inside these corporations. And he said, when this comes out, people are going to go to prison. And he meant people who were basically misusing legitimate national security funds, tens of billions of dollars, in order to keep this cover-up going. I also believe there's a legitimate reason for the cover-up in that there is undeniable connection of national security involved in this technology. If we are racing for it to master that technology against the Russians and the Chinese, which is what I have been told by Senator Reid and many others, then it is a race that's critical to our survival. There could be a form of disclosure, I think. Yes, it's real, it's from somewhere else, without revealing all the details that would allow someone else to have an advantage in the race for this technology.
Thank you. Finally, I'd like to enter into the testimony a letter I sent to the DoD regarding the case of Major David Charles Grush, a UAP whistleblower who's been extremely helpful to this committee. Unfortunately, due to his participation in the disclosure of UAP, he suffered reprisal like the removal of his clearance, denial of promotion, and loss of medical retirement. I wrote the DoD on July 24th, 2025, on behalf of Major Grush, and I'm still waiting for a reply. I appreciate any help the committee can offer to get a response. Thank you. I yield back.
Without objection, we'll be following up with the DoD after this hearing. Thank you, Representative Crane. I'd next like to recognize Representative Gill for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman Luna, for holding this hearing, and I'd like to yield a minute of my time to you.
Perfect. My first question is to Mr. Knapp. Mr. Knapp, how do we know that the files that you obtained from the former Soviet government are not BS and just given to you as a disinformation campaign against the U.S. government?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I shared some of them with the Senate Intelligence Committee when I first got back because that was requested by the Russians who shared some of that information with me. Secondly, I gave all of that material to the DIA through BASS, the OSAP program, sorry for the acronyms.
Can you name names real quick? Sorry.
At BASS or OSAP?
Who did you give them to directly?
I gave them to Robert Bigelow and to Jim Lukatsky. And they hired a whole team to go through them and retranslate them and analyze it, and they created a structure of how the UFO programs in the USSR and Russia were put together. They said they were real. The other person who said they were real is David Grush.
Noted. Thank you. Representative Gill.
Yep. And thank you. I'd like to yield the remainder of my time to Eric Burleson.
Thank you, Representative Gill. Mr. Wiggins, Chief Wiggins, in your view, what mechanisms, such as internal protocols, witness debriefings, or cross-agency documentation, should be better established in order to ensure that such a credible sighting, like the one that you have given, are preserved and made available to oversight bodies like this?
Thank you, sir. As a active duty Navy member, our mission is to carry out the ship's mission or the command's mission. And we, on a general basis, don't have knowledge of what to do when we see things like this. We just don't. We're there to do our mission and do what's told of us, right? So I think what would be important is giving active duty members a clear way of being able to report things like this to where it gets to this point. And ensuring that we have a standard level of understanding that there wouldn't be any level of reprisal or anything happening. Because, you know, I've been in the Navy for almost 24 years, but what about the sailors that have been in for 2 years that experience things like this? They're not going to have the knowledge, or they'll probably be a little bit more fearful to speak up, being it that their career is just starting.
Yeah, I want to commend you. You're the first witness to come forward that is currently serving, and it's recognized. And so I thank you. And your testimony is unbelievable. Let me ask this question: are you familiar with the Witness Protection Act that Representative Burchett has filed?
I'm not too familiar, sir.
Anyone on the committee familiar with it? It's fantastic. It's the language that we need. It's language that will protect whistleblowers from any kind of reprisal, and yet it's again and again blocked by this body in some way. Many times it's being blocked not by elected officials but by staff behind the scenes. And the other bill, the UAP Disclosure Act, which was filed last year, Senator Schumer, who I cannot believe that there's a topic that he and I agree on, but he and I agree on this topic. He has sponsored it in the Senate. He put it on the National Defense Authorization Act last year. Remarkably, I can't get it on it was stripped out by the House last year, and I can't get it onto the bill leaving the House this year. Mr. Knapp, how far would that bill go to actually getting the answers that we need?
Pretty far. I think that they're still going to have roadblocks. You know, the keepers of the secrets, the private companies that have been doing this job for intelligence agencies for a long time, are not going to cough it up. You'd have to force it out of them. And whether you can get them to admit that they have it or not, I mean, they're supposed to lie about it. They've been lying about it. More power to you. I hope it works. I hope it passes this time. But it's a daunting challenge to get them to open up after lying about it for more than 75 years.
Yeah. And then finally, Mr. Borland, when you engaged with Arrow in 2023, you noted that their public statements did not match the reality that you and others had witnessed. In your assessment, what were the key limitations of Arrow?
You know, I would put it to you this way. The statement Arrow has made is scientific evidence of extraterrestrials. Scientific evidence requires a scientific control. Extraterrestrial is an entity on another planet. The only way to scientifically prove extraterrestrial is we have to go to that planet, acquire technology, bring it back, and compare it to what we have here.
So you're saying they won't let anything out they won't come forward unless they confirm that it unless they go to the planet and confirm where its origin is.
That would be scientific evidence, yes. And by that statement, Arrow found no scientific evidence of extraterrestrials is basically, I don't want to call it a psyop, but a misrepresentation, because we do have things. But making that statement is not technically a lie. It's a misrepresentation of the full truth.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I, just since we're on that topic real quick, how do we get to these other planets? How do we pass the Van Allen radiation belt safely?
Good question for you. I cannot answer that for you.
Thank you. I would now like to recognize Mr. Perry for 5 minutes.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think I'll start with maybe Mr. Borland. So you have a clearance, right? You're in uniform, you have a clearance. When did you leave service? What year?
I left in 2013, February
2013. Who was the president, if you recall?
2013 would have been President Obama, sir.
Wasn't President Trump, right?
No, sir.
Okay, so you have a clearance, right? You're serving in uniform, you have a clearance.
Yes,
Your
sir.
story, I think many of us are kind of picturing the scene. You walk out in the flight line, having a smoke, this event occurs. Do you have the perception, at least I do, based on your story, that this involves the U.S. government? Whatever you saw involves the U.S. government.
That is 100% my opinion then and now.
And was there an after action? Do you do a daily debrief of the activities of the day? Was any of that recorded? Was there a conversation with the command? Was there any documentation that you know of at the time?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, like I said, I talked about it in on the ops floor, and a couple of people had pulled me aside, some older enlisted, and were like, you probably want to keep that to yourself.
So did you get the impression that they knew what you were talking about, just didn't want you to harm your career or seem crazy, or that they didn't really witness? Did you know anybody else that witnessed what you saw?
Again, not that night. Like I said, the only people that would have been out there would have been security forces, and then those of us that were doing ops.
Security forces in uniform or contract?
Probably both.
Did you talk to them? Did anybody talk to them in an after action?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Was there any interest in the command to determine and verify what you saw?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
It's unfortunate. Chief Wiggins, thank you for your service. Gentlemen, thanks all of you for your courage to be here. Your story's a little bit different. Sounds like it, well, for both of you guys, and also Mr. Nusatelli, if this were sanctioned by the U.S. government, even though you have a clearance, but it's classified above the clearance level, do you see any reason why they would allow you access, being present, viewing it, hearing it, being around it? Like, what is this, an accident? Like, does the U.S. government make these kind of accidents? They make accidents, mistakes like this? Like, we're doing this test of this new system, and we forgot these guys were standing here. Does that sound like something that the U.S. government would do?
No, sir. Some of the launches we were doing were like $5 billion projects that had taken like 10 years to develop the technology. And these objects were coming right up to the launch pad. So any kind of mistake, I mean, it could cause a catastrophe.
Right.
So it's very confusing why these objects would be operating in and around our bases or during training exercises.
So it would lend you to believe that the U.S. government had nothing to do with whatever it is you saw.
Correct.
They wouldn't want it there because it would potentially interrupt the proceedings at the time. Was there an after action? Was there a discussion by your command was there an investigation? It's pretty significant activities that you were involved in. Was there an investigation that you know of?
We conducted investigations in real time.
Right.
And we document all the evidence, but as far as anything from higher up, I don't know if there was an investigation done. No information came down on what we should do.
Were you ever interviewed at someone else's request?
About that incident?
Yeah, about the incident.
I don't believe so.
Do you think you find that odd? If something happens, you're around multi-million, maybe billion-dollar operations and launches of national security interests, very sensitive. There's an anomaly in the operation.
The only person witnessed it saw a UAP at Vandenberg at that time frame that was interviewed was the one that witnessed the thing land.
Why wouldn't, well, I don't know why I'm asking you, but it seems to me that we would want to interview everybody associated, even not associated, to find out if they were associated. Chief Wiggins, how about you? Was there an investigation? Was there an after action? Was there documentation on the incident that you were privy to?
No, sir, not that I know of. And in my previous experience as an operations specialist, all operations that I've been a part of have been deliberate. So
yeah,
they're
And deliberate operations, after the operations, you conduct an after-action review, or that's what the Army calls it. I don't know what I imagine the Navy has something similar to determine your weaknesses, your successes. Did you do that in regard to this incident?
No, sir. The Navy calls it after-action reports, and not to my knowledge was there an after-action report of this incident, sir.
It's unfortunate. Thank you, Chair. I yield.
I now recognize Mr. Biggs for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the witnesses for being here today. I'll tell you that today's testimony should alarm every American, no matter their views on UAPs. This isn't simply about UAPs. It's about government integrity, responsible use of taxpayer funds, and Congress's constitutional duty to oversee the executive branch. I've heard evidence of critical information hidden in special access programs, off limits to virtually every elected representative, and certainly to the public. Credible witnesses report retaliation for speaking out. These are clear attempts to silence those who are exposing the truth. We must protect the whistleblowers. And decades of government disinformation have eviscerated public trust. So this isn't a partisan matter. It's a constitutional matter. And when you talk about the VAs, Mr. Spielberger, and all the problems that they had, the hub of that was Phoenix. And they went after the whistleblowers there. And that was under the Obama administration. So it doesn't matter which administration, which party, both parties have got to come clean, particularly on this. So if the government thinks it can hide the truth and punish those who speak out, Congress has to keep pushing until the facts, whatever they are, wherever they lead, come to light. I'm going to go to you, Mr. Knapp, first. You've interviewed numerous UAP whistleblowers over the years. The question is, how do you verify their claims before deciding they're credible enough to report on?
Combination of factors. First, you check their credentials. Did they really serve where they said they did, and did they work where they said they did? Are there any other witnesses? Is there visual proof, film, footage, things of that sort? You ask the people around them that know them, that used to work with them, if they're credible people. That's one way. You know, I think about Arrow, the organization that this body created to deal with witnesses and whistleblowers. I hope I'm not taking too much of your time here, but they invited people to come forward, service members who knew, saw things and had experiences. And I can tell you that the people that I have talked to who went through that are deeply disappointed. There was a guy named Bob Jacobs who was a lieutenant attached to Vandenberg in 1964. His unit would record missile tests. They recorded all of them. On one of these particular tests, a UFO comes out of nowhere, zaps what looks like a laser beam at what would have been a nuclear dummy, a nuclear weapon, and disabled it. And he is called into the commander's office. Two guys in suits clip that film footage out that shows the UFO, and he's ordered to never talk about it. He comes forward to Arrow. He heeds the call, thinking he's doing his duty as an American to tell that story, and they completely dismissed him. They made up a story that they had tracked down the original footage, and there was nothing like that in it. Well, there was no original footage. It had been taken away the day the footage was recorded. He is deeply disappointed. People like Bob Salas, who had worked at a nuclear ICBM base, who saw UFOs flying over the base, and these missile silos were taken down. He went to Arrow, too, and was completely disregarded. It almost looks like Arrow operated as a counterintelligence operation to get people to come in, tell their stories, and then discredit all of them. I can't imagine that any whistleblower or witness will ever go to Arrow again because of what happened under the first director, who's now long gone, but still seems to act as the spokesperson for that organization.
And I would say, Madam Chair, maybe at some point we need to really dig deep into Arrow, and I would encourage us.
Oh, I'd be happy to send maybe a subpoena to Mr. Kilpatrick.
That'd be fun. Mr. Nucatelli, you've testified that official Air Force records of the Red Square incident are now held by Arrow and the FBI. has Congress or you been denied access to those records, and on what grounds would we be denied access, you or us?
No, the records are unclassified, so
okay,
provide them to.
In the 2003 to 2005 incidents you described, were any physical effects, electromagnetic interference, radio anomalies, or security system disruptions documented in base logs or any reports, official reports?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Mr. Wiggins, has the full resolution unedited footage of your incident been provided to Congress?
Yes.
Okay. Were you or your crew ever instructed formally or informally not to document or discuss the event? Ever?
No.
Good. Mr. Borland, you've talked about manipulation of your security clearance records. Can you identify which agencies or offices were responsible and whether they provided any written justification?
I can do that in a skiff, sir, 100%. Because of being a part of a multi-agency special access program, I cannot give those publicly.
So I'd encourage us, Madam Chair, to have that skiff meeting if we can. And then, Mr. Borland, again for you. You testified that you withheld certain sources and methods from Arrow due to mistrust. Can you give us some specifics that led you to believe they were misrepresenting the truth?
Well, as I said already, what I said about scientific methods, scientific control, extraterrestrials, I mean, I know what I've seen, I know what I know, and I know it's true. So any agency that's going to go public and try and manipulate the public perception of this subject in such a way that it is negative when I know the truth about it is why I had extreme reservations with it, and also what I've been through and other whistleblowers and people in the know about this subject have been through.
So, Madam Chair, thank you for letting me wave on. I think the key thing there you talked about was manipulation of message, manipulation of narrative. That is really the problem with this entire the system that we've seen since you've started these wonderful hearings, Madam Chair, and I thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative Biggs. The chair would now like to recognize Mr. Begich for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First question, Mr. Borland, earlier today you mentioned that in a skiff, you would be able to discuss whether a member of Congress is actually legally able to access certain information. Under what authority would a member of Congress be restricted from accessing information on this topic, even within a skiff?
I would suggest reaching out to Director Gabbard and speaking with her about that. I'm hopeful that this goes back to the executive branch and who even has authority. Unfortunately, I can't give you a 100% solid answer because I don't even have that knowledge.
Next question to George Knapp. What is the estimated annual budget, your view, for the program for investigating or reverse engineering UAP-related technology, including official, misappropriated, or black budget funds?
I wouldn't have a clue. I don't know of any person that's ever seen it.
Does anyone on this panel wish to address that question? Okay, moving on. Are any of you willing to name specific gatekeepers within the root cell of the UAP-SAP Federation?
You mean specific people and contractors that have dealt with us and kept the secret?
Specific individuals.
Well, one of them was named Dr. James Ryder at Lockheed. But, you know, again, to emphasize, I don't fault these contractors for doing what they were asked to do by our government. They're supposed to lie if people ask about it. And the intelligence agencies who gave this stuff to them, CIA, I think primarily, told them to keep it quiet, and they've done that. And I suspect that they'd like an off-ramp, that they'd like some help with figuring out this technology at some point.
And this is, again, available to anyone, is there a security classification guide for UAP or NHI?
I remember in the 2003 or 2023 hearing, it was stated that all UAP-related material is classified secret or above.
I have a name for you.
Go ahead.
Glenn Gaffney, CIA.
Glenn Gaffney, CIA. Another question for you, Mr. Knapp. what is, in your view, having investigated this issue for so many years, what is the long game with respect to disclosure of this information to the public? Because with the advent of essentially a video camera and a high megapixel phone in everybody's pocket, at some point, this information is going to be impossible to withhold from the public. What do you think is the long game here?
Well, the secret's out. I mean, how many videos have there been already? You know, videos that are leaked from within the military and intelligence agencies and contractors and sensor platforms. It's out there. But they have the high ground. The people that don't want us to take it seriously dismiss it, discredit the witnesses, come up with a cover story. I mean, it's been out there a long time. The public senses that it's real, and the people in authority dismiss them. It's a game that's been going on a long time, and I don't think they're ever going to release it. I think that there's an attitude among the people that have been involved in this for a long time that the public doesn't deserve to know, and that the public probably can't handle it, but they can.
Final question, again, this one's open to anyone who'd like to answer it. Describe your understanding of the org chart or lines of control within the executive branch with respect to these topics. And if you'd like to address that in a skiff, feel free to say so.
That could work as long as I'm legally allowed to and you are legally allowed to receive it.
I think these programs are in the executive branch, National Security Council and over on that side. That seems to be what some of our witnesses have told us over the years. So you can, Congress can file all kinds of requests. The FOIAs can be filed with the Department of Defense, Department of War now, and they can honestly say, well, we don't have it, because they don't have it.
Thank you. Is there anything in my remaining 30 seconds that you'd like to share on any of these questions that I've asked you today?
And I applaud the committee for trying to tackle this monster of an issue. I really appreciate that it might be the only bipartisan issue in Washington where everybody can agree. We've watched multiple hearings now. Everyone is asking the same kind of questions, whether right or left, and honestly want the answers. And Chairman Luna, Chairwoman Luna, I appreciate your dedication to this, Tim Burchett and the other members, for sticking with it, because it's come up in Congress before, and they had hearings, and then they dropped it for 50 years. So it's going to take a lot of time to get to the bottom of this, and I applaud your commitment to getting to the truth.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Pursuant to Committee Rule 9C.
Madam Chair, can I ask a parliamentary question of you?
Yeah, sure.
Does this subcommittee have the authority to do subpoenas?
Task force. So the task force, to answer that question, has to do it through full committee.
Okay.
So, and also in regards to immunity, which to Mr. Borland's point, we are going to be doing a motion to ask for immunity for you and a few other people to come into a skiff and tell us what you know without being subject to the Espionage Act, et cetera.
Thank you, ma'am.
So that's just kind of an update. But as a task force, because we are not a full subcommittee and there are certain authorities that haven't been granted to us, probably because they don't want us to have it. But there are ways to work around it, so we're kind of figuring that out. Pursuant to Committee Rule 9C, the majority and minority will have an additional 30 minutes each to ask questions of the witnesses without objection. So ordered. With that being said, if you guys want to jump in the queue, I know Representative Crane, Burleson, and likely Burchett have a few more questions. I'll just start out with 2, and then I'll pass the buck to Burleson. Burchett, do you have anything? Yeah. Burchett and then Crane. Just real quick, Mr. Knapp, and short answers, please, because of time. How much of these alleged Russian crash retrieval documents have already been physically out there? So, I mean, percentage-wise of the documents that you submitted to Congress, what was public already and what was not newly released?
Maybe 1%.
Okay, so the rest of it should be predominantly new information.
Yep.
Also, can you just elaborate real quick? I know you had, I think, mentioned a Thread 3 program, but also alleged in those documents, I got through maybe half of them last night. There's a lot, and I don't speak Russian, contrary to what my people might allege. What does the Thread 3, was there any specific programs that existed within the Soviet government or groups to specifically investigate this by name real quick?
It's a number. There's a number in those documents I gave you. There was a larger program that actually had 3 sub-programs that was, Thread 3 was the name I got, and then the DIA guys who looked at it figured out there was a much larger organization.
And it's listed in those documents?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Real quick, I'd like to ask the committee to replay that video that Burleson had played earlier. I want to ask every witness here, specifically ones that have sensor training or have been able to recognize some of this movements real quick. So if you guys can please roll that real quick. Okay, while this is still rolling, Mr. Nusatelli, real quick, United States government arsenal that can split a Hellfire missile like this?
No.
And do whatever blob thing it did and then keep going? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, how about you, Chief Wiggins?
Nothing to my knowledge, ma'am.
Okay, and how about you, Mr. Borland?
I prefer to answer that in a skiff.
Okay, does this video scare you guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Wiggins?
Yes.
Nat?
I had a different reaction. I was really happy that it got out. Thanks for providing
Curiosity
that,
kills the
Congressman.
cat. All right, Mr. Borland?
Yes, for
Okay. All right, that is the end of my questioning. I'd like to now recognize Mr. Crane.
Thank you. Chief, I was on a ship for a little bit. I was a gunner's mate on the USS Gettysburg for a couple years. My question to you is, when you had your encounter and you saw it on the screen, you were in the CIC, is that correct?
That's correct. On an LCS ship, the CIC is on the bridge, so it's called ICC-1, but yes, same.
Did a bunch of the other folks in the CIC come and check out what you were looking at?
Yes, we all did. The tactical action officer, myself, the RCO, and two others that were on watch. We were all in the same space, so we were all looking at the Sapphire screen all at the same time.
Because in the other couple instances with the witnesses, you guys just saw it by yourself. Is that correct? Mr. Borland, you saw it by yourself?
For me, yes, sir.
Mr. Nusatelli, you saw this by yourself?
No, there were multiple witnesses in every case at Vandenberg.
Okay. So, Chief, did that spread like wildfire throughout the ship in the next day or two, what you guys had seen?
No, sir. It didn't spread throughout the ship, but it spread throughout ICC-1 conversation. As you do your turnover, we talk about it. But it didn't go further than just the watchstanders that stood watch on the bridge and in ICC-1. So it did move around there throughout a few days.
I'm kind of surprised. Stuff usually spreads around the ship pretty fast. Why do you think the rest of your fellow sailors on the boat didn't hear about it?
Potentially uninterest, possibly, with engineers or combat systems like yourself, don't make their way up to the bridge enough to get within sight of the circle of talk about the incident.
Was it hard for you to get permission from the Navy to bring that video?
I myself didn't bring the video. I just saw the video. When I saw the video, I got in touch with Admiral Gallaudet. That's how I wind up knowing about the video itself when I first talked to the Admiral. And you can hear my voice at the back end of the video, and I was like, hey, that's my voice, and I wanted to talk about it.
How long did that encounter take place, Chief?
So the encounter itself, from the time I recognized on my radar to the time after the video ends, was probably about 5 to 7 minutes.
What speed was the object moving at?
When I first witnessed off the port bridge wing the object moving out of the water, what I thought was originally just a light on the water, something on the horizon, and surfacing and going into the air, I then knew it was an air contact. But as an air controller myself, I started thinking and going through kind of like my checklist in my mind. Could it be a helo? But it's not blinking lights. So I then realized this is something I've never seen before. So the speed itself, just going from the horizon to about maybe 3,000 to 4,000 feet in the air, was very slow, slowly rising. And then it sped up. I'm not an expert at knowing specific speeds of aircraft just by visual eye, but I would say probably 1-2 Mach instantly into the rest of the formation. I didn't notice visually with my own eyes the other 3 objects until I went back to my radar and also utilized Sapphire to see that, in fact, there were 4 total. And then again, when they all left after a certain amount of time, it was nearly instantaneous.
So you spotted it visually first, Chief, and then went back to your radar, or did you guys spot it on radar first?
Radar first, because that was my watch station.
And then you went out to the port bridge wing, is that correct?
Correct, to verify what I saw on my radar.
What range was it at, Chief, when you were able to see it visibly?
I would say about 7 nautical miles, 7 to 8 nautical miles of a light from the ship.
Wow. Thank you. I yield back.
I now recognize Mr. Burleson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chief Wiggins, you said that it emerged from the ocean. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And before it did, it was glowing. It was a glowing object under the water.
That part I couldn't tell because it was nighttime at 1915 approximately, and it was also at a distance. So it's very hard to tell the difference between something on the horizon and something surfacing from the water. My personal thoughts after seeing what I saw is that it did in fact come from the water, but I don't have visual evidence showing exactly, that it did in fact come from the water. But I had to go through my process of elimination and try to figure out, was this a ship on the horizon just showing its lights at night, but to see it surface, then it made me question, okay, where did this come from? If it's flying and it's not a drone or anything like that, where was its origin? Where did it start?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Knapp, in your testimony and in this document, you detail an event that happened in Russia where their nuclear missiles were activated, and we were close to a World War III at that time, which is startling to hear. It's also good to know that as we have investigated the JFK files as well, that we're learning that that there was a document that was sent between Russia. There was an agreement between Russia and the United States that if they were to see some unidentified objects over sensitive sites, that they would report it to each other. Are you familiar with that document?
Yes, I'm also familiar with the rhetoric, public rhetoric between President Reagan and Gorbachev at the time, too, that they traded statements about, wouldn't it be something if we were threatened by something from way outside, how we might work together. I know for sure that they had conversations about it, and I know we did reach an agreement to try to lessen the possibility that us detecting a UFO or group of UFOs would not be mistaken for a bunch of Russian missiles. There were exchanges of that sort that went back and forth.
Yeah, and I can imagine this is, to me, the validity of this document is underscored by the fact that Russia would not want this to be known. They absolutely would not want to know, the public to know, or the United States to know, that there was a vulnerability in their missile systems. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And, and we had many similar incidents at our nuclear weapons facilities here that have all been sort of swept under the rug, but it's pretty scary when you take down 10 missile silos during tense times and you don't have a better explanation for it than it was a special test of security mechanisms or using EMPs, which is a preposterous explanation.
Real quick, we're going to cut to Mr. Ogles. He just got back. So we're in a special kind of lightning round, so 5 minutes, and then we'll go back to our line of questioning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this point, I think it's clear from the hearing that there's advanced technologies that are taking place in our airspace. The question is, and I posed it in one of the previous hearings, is it ours, is it theirs, or is it otherworldly? There may not be a silver bullet at the moment, but when you look back through the hearing and the evidence that's been presented, if you're going to point the American people to one piece of evidence to start their journey on this topic, what would you suggest, sir?
One piece of evidence. I would I would start with this hearing, in the first hearing. There is no evidence.
But is there a specific, exactly, but is there a specific evidence or footage or document that you think lends extreme credibility to what we're discussing today?
I would say this new video we're seeing today is exceptional evidence that we're dealing with something.
With the kinetic?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggins?
Sir, I'd have to say that if just the average person here in America looked at absolutely everything that has come across television, the internet, etc., you can't tell yourself that 100% of what's being recorded is fake or false. You have to, at some point, understand that there's something else out there.
Well, I mean, and you bring an interesting point. You know, in the law enforcement community, anytime you're conducting an investigation, you're always looking at the totality of the circumstances. You're looking at all the evidence and how they piece together. And so that would be my, advice to the American people, that this is a journey that is just beginning from a congressional perspective, but you have decades of data, some of it not real, much of it is, but thanks to Chairwoman Luna, we're now presenting this to the American people. And I think this latest video from Mr. Burleson is something that should get everyone pause. When you see the 3 orbs that drop, was that in a defensive posture or was that in an offensive posture? And what capabilities did those orbs have that we, quite frankly, may not have? Mr. Knapp?
As I mentioned at the beginning of my remarks, what hooked me on the story was the paper trail, these documents that shouldn't exist. We've been told for decades, over and over, there's nothing to it. It's not a threat. You can go about your business. And then when FOIA becomes the law of the land, thousands of pages to the contrary leak out. There's a memo by General Nathan Twining in 1947 when the country was being overflown by dozens of UFOs, hundreds of UFOs, in which he said, look, this is not visionary or fictitious, it's real. These things are craft. They're not ours. They outperform anything we've got. I mean, if you follow the paper trail of documents that they wrote before the military got wise and realized that FOIA really exists and changed their tune and not put things in writing, it spells it out pretty clearly. I'll go refer back to Russia. One incident I did not mention to Representative Burleson is Colonel Sokolov in that Ministry of Defense program said there were 40 incidents where Russian warplanes were sent to intercept UFOs. And they were ordered to fire on them. And for the most part, the UFOs would zip away. 3 of the pilots, though, did fire at these things. Those 3 planes stalled out, crashed. 2 of those pilots died. And after that, the Russians changed the standing order. If you see a UFO, leave them alone. No country in the world wants to say and admit that these objects are flying around in our airspace and there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, who wants to say that? The U.S. certainly doesn't. The Russians didn't either.
And I've got to be almost out of time, but Mr. Berlin, then you, sir, real quickly.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think Bob Lazar, and not for the reasons that most would talk about, mainly because Bob Lazar was immediately discredited. They said he never worked where he worked. They said he never did what he did. But yet Bob Lazar showed up with a bunch of friends and a video camera and was filming these test flights in the middle of the desert. So clearly he knew something.
Madam Chairman, if I'm out of time, I yield back.
Thank you very much, Representative Ogles. I'd like to go back now on our lightning round of questioning to Representative Burchett and then Burleson. Burchett, always number 1.
That's what I should be. Number 1 in your heart, number 435 on the chart. That's me. Dylan, knowing you testified to Arrow, are they obfuscating when they claim to have discovered no evidence of extraterrestrial beings, activity, or technology, and are they lying to the American public?
As I said before, it's a manipulation of the public perception. The statement, scientific evidence of extraterrestrials, is a true statement. It is not the truth about what is happening and what we have.
Would any of y'all like to comment on that further? Mr. Knapp, you're getting edgy.
It's splitting hairs. No proof that they're extraterrestrials. What would that proof look like? A piece of kryptonite? What would it be? I mean, we could be talking about different forms of non-human intelligence. I think the dominant paradigm is that they come from outer space, somewhere else, and they have some way that they can cross those vast distances that we can't even imagine doing. But that's not necessarily the answer. So asking for proof of extraterrestrials might not be the answer at all. It's splitting hairs. we don't know where they're from. I don't know anyone who knows the answer for sure. They call them aliens just as a placekeeper kind of a word, but no one in all these programs who've studied this stuff for years, people with much bigger brains than mine, knows the answer for sure.
I've talked to Navy folks that some of the deep sea areas, they think there might be something there that they're here, and I don't know when they got here. Another point that needs to be made is every time, we say we're going to back engineer or whatever you want to call it, these craft, I always say, like, it'd be like if you took I ride motorcycles, but if you took like an Indian or a Harley to the people that came over here on the Mayflower, they'd see a bright, shiny object. They might polish it. They might get it started. I doubt they could. They couldn't work on it. They couldn't put fuel. They wouldn't be able to have the capability of putting fuel in it. I just think that's we're scratching at something that we don't have any knowledge of, and that's why it's just taken so dadgum long. But they do know, the first one that cracks that code, it's over. I mean, it's energy, it's power, it's everything. And I worry too that in the wrong hands that they do that, they keep it from the rest of us because they're so invested in whatever energy sources we have here that their billionaire buddies are going to profit, and they can't retool because they know once it's out on the internet, it's over. And so I think there's a lot of things going after it, and I think that's why the move to discredit folks is so rapid too. I think they point to them and they put the dogs on them, and it disgusts me.
There's a price to be paid for that too. The Russians and Chinese are trying to figure this out as well, but they don't have the same kind of stigma. They tell their best scientists and engineers, get in there and work on it. And they've been doing it for a very long time, might have a head start on us. Here, we don't have our best scientists and engineers working on it because they've been told it's nonsense. The stigma is very real for people like that.
I agree. Yield back, Chair Lady.
Thank you. I'd now like to recognize Representative Burleson.
Mr. Nusatelli, when you heard the testimony of Mr. Knapp talking about these missiles were shut down or turned on in Russia, does that remind you, when you hear these stories, it's got to remind you of the event that happened on your base?
Absolutely. There are many accounts of incursions of this type taking place. I believe in the 60s we had a similar incursion in New England, and same thing happened. There were these objects coming over the base at low altitude, 200 feet over the base security police, and they were scrambling fighters, and then the objects would just fly off, and that went on for weeks. So the historical record has laid out that there's a pattern, that our installations are visited by these craft. They come in and do whatever they're doing, and then they leave. And we don't know how to respond. We don't know how to protect the installation. So that's why we're here.
When you first heard, and we're having to report on these incidents that were being witnessed by other individuals, did you believe them? Did you yourself believe it would be true until you saw it?
Yeah, these are people I've worked with for years, deployed with. I was in some of the weddings. These are people that I worked with every day of my life. Usually when the events were occurring, we were all together. There'd be 40, 60, 100 people on duty during these encounters.
Really?
Yeah.
All seeing it at the same time?
Yes, these encounters were playing out while we were on duty, and we were responding and investigating in real time as they occurred.
And as you said, the importance of your operation was highly important because they said it's the most important in 25 years. The research that you were conducting.
For that particular launch, we had 500 Air Force police officers guarding the launch. 500 people. It was that critical.
Wow.
But had this thing showed up, we wouldn't have been able to do anything to prevent it showing up.
Real quickly, can you just redescribe size and whether or not you heard anything? It was how big, wise?
The two square objects were at least as large as a football field. The second encounter, they think it was much larger than a football field. We're talking like flying buildings. The object I saw was about 30 feet in diameter.
And to confirm, you were not the only person that saw this?
Correct.
I think I was also told that there was also reports of this in a police blotter in the area Can you confirm that?
Yes, that's the documentation that I maintained from the original event and turned into Arrow and the FBI.
Okay. Do you have any more, Burleson?
No, Madam Chair, I just want to reiterate to the American people that if you're frustrated, so are we. We're extremely frustrated. We've been, the 2-3 years, I can only imagine how frustrated Mr. Knapp is or Danny Sheehan is, and the amount of time that you guys have poured into this to try to get answers. I mean, Masson is back there. He's been pouring to try to get answers into this. I hope that you all see that we're committed to this, and we're going to be scrappy about it. We may not have the direct authority, but I can assure you Representative Luna is about as scrappy as it gets. I wouldn't want to scrap with her. But that being said, I think that if the American people want to see answers, we need action. We've had the hearings. It's time to take action. It's time that we pass Tim Burchett's Whistleblower Act. It's time that we pass the UAP Disclosure Act. And I think that we've had a lot of talk about this. It's time for action.
Thank you, Burleson. I would now like to yield 30 minutes to Representative Crockett.
I'll reserve.
Thank you. In closing, I want to thank our witnesses once again for their testimony today. I now yield to Ranking Member Crockett for closing remarks.
I'll pass. No, I just want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for being here today, for staying committed to this, and for your courage. I truly believe that courage is contagious, and right now we need more courage than ever, whether it's UAPs or whether we're dealing with any other form of government where people are afraid to come out and speak their truth. The American people are relying on amazing public servants like you to speak up on their behalf, to be the watchdog, and to make sure that we are as safe as possible. And so thank you so much again for conducting a bipartisan hearing on such an important matter.
Thank you. I'd now like to recognize myself for some closing remarks. This is obviously something that doesn't just affect everyone in this room. I can tell you that specifically for where I represent in Pinellas County, Tampa Bay, and Florida as a whole, there's many sightings, many questions, people reporting this, but I'm not the only one. I was also told by Representative Biggs, as well as our great representative from Alaska, that these are not isolated instances, and so it does give us reasoning to provide investigative inquiry into these topics, but also I would also like Mr. Spielberger, if you could actually review and see if your organization would endorse the Whistleblower Protection Act that Representative Burchett has. I can tell you that I will be signing on to a letter, as well as I'm sure many other members of this task force, and we hope that the ranking chairwoman, or my colleague here, Representative Crockett, as well as our Democrats that were here today, consider also signing on to that, as we do feel that it is time to ensure that our whistleblowers are given adequate protections and that people like Mr. Borland are not facing retribution in the way that they have been. With that being said, with all that and without objection, all members have 5 legislative days within to submit materials and additional written questions for the witnesses, and which will be also forwarded to those witnesses. If there are no further business, without objection, I'd like to now recognize Representative Burchett for closing remarks.
I would just like to thank the ranking member and the chair lady for their courage. This is a tough issue. We all catch hell for it, and but it's gratifying that we're here in a bipartisan nature and the way this meeting was conducted. And I want to thank y'all for your courage. Thank y'all. And
without objection, the task force stands adjourned. Has been shrouded in secrecy, stigma, and in some case, outright dismissal. Today, I want to state clearly that this is not science fiction or creating speculation. This is about national security, government accountability, and the American people's right to the truth. I have spoken now to a number of whistleblowers from the military, to include the infamous Eglin Air Force Base incident that occurred when myself and former Representative Matt Gaetz, as well as Representative Burchett, followed up on a lead from multiple active-duty Air Force pilot whistleblowers that alleged that the United States Air Force was covering up UAP activity at Eglin Air Force Base. We have heard from a number of whistleblowers, specifically military pilots, that the reason for not coming forward publicly is out of fear that speaking out would cost them their flight status and potentially their careers. This is unacceptable. We cannot protect our airspaces if our best trained observers are silenced. We cannot advance science if we refuse to ask questions. And we cannot maintain trust in government if we keep the American people in the dark. Now, Congress has tried to fix this problem. Congress tried to create formal channels through the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, also known as AARO, and the Intelligence Community Inspector General for service members and officials to make disclosures. But the reality, the reports come in are often to brush aside, slow-walked, or met with skepticism rather than serious investigation.
So I'm going to be honest, I was disappointed on Friday with this UFO disclosure. Even the new name bothers me, how we now have to call them UAPs and not UFOs anymore. Like, guys, the name was fine. Just like they are still homeless people, they're not the unhoused. Democrats want us to call them the unhoused. They're homeless, okay? They don't have homes. They're homeless. On Friday, I realized that they are going to continue jerking us around until we stop asking questions, or until there's a new president. On Friday, we got 160 files, 28 videos, and 14 really blurry photographs, all bad videos that could be anything. In one account, here was a quote from Buzz Aldrin describing something he saw out of the spacecraft when he was on the moon, a, quote, fairly bright light source from Buzz Aldrin. That's what he said. They released that. Like, wow, great. But while all that was happening on Friday, on the same day, all that was being released, our next guest said this just down the street from the White House at the National Press Club.
The problem is, and this I want to be clear about, there are two governments. There's the government you know about, we elect and appoint. There's a shadow or secret government that is actually running this. And that is not a conspiracy theory. It's a fact. We can prove it.
Okay, that is Dr. Stephen Greer, founder of the Disclosure Project, 25 years running now. Dr. Greer, great to have you back. So basically, you are saying that Donald Trump does not have all the information that he should have. Is that correct?
He has a great deal more than what was released, but he doesn't have all of it. And it's because of the compartmented nature in an illegal covert program that happened in the 1950s. We've been saying this for 30 years. So what I understand, he's going to release more in various tranches every few weeks, but we're still working to be sure that he can penetrate these compartmented operations more fully. So I have a team of people working with them, but I think people should not think that the president can wave a magic wand and everything comes out.
Well,
but yes, they have a lot more than what has been shown. So I think this was sort of a testing of the waters. But our archive, the Disclosure Project
like
archive,
a testing
has
of
a
the
lot
waters,
more.
Dr. Greer. I'm sorry. Like, how many times are we going to do this since Roswell in the late 1940s? Like,
Oh,
what
no one's
is
more
so
frustrated than me. No, yeah, I mean, look, I gave up my medical career.
What is so mind-boggling in these files that they don't want humanity to know about? And by the way, they don't have the right to make that decision.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think this is the real problem. Is the reason we have the Disclosure Project is a check and balance against what the government does or doesn't do. But I think if people were at the National Press Club on Friday,
this dude can't handle the truth. If it bit him in the face, he couldn't handle the truth.
Friday, they would have gotten vastly more information than they did from the tranche of files released
Friday was
morning.
pathetic.
The other guy.
Friday was pathetic.
Yeah,
I saw it and I laughed, and we honestly canceled the segment. We did one segment about it Friday night, but I was like, I can't go to air with this because this is a joke. I'm going to explode if I have to try to defend what was just released. Nothing was released. Let me ask you this: who's in charge of this other government that doesn't answer to Donald Trump?
God.
Well,
what do you mean
there are
nothing was
various corporations.
okay. What the fuck kind of attitude is this? Man, I just got crazy heartburn. But, so what I wanted to say about what he's trying to say, like nothing's been released. Dude, a lot's been released. I don't know if he's even read the files. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know how I can have like such a different perspective than these people. It is fucking wild how crazy our world is. How like we're barely getting this shit out. And this dude's like, nothing was released. The fuck are you talking about? Wait a minute. If this is nothing, the last 80 years was that it really was nothing, then we get anyway. It's just silly. Like, we wouldn't have just had those meetings if it was nothing. Like, we wouldn't have just done all this work for nothing. Like, it blows my mind. So, Dr. Stevens Greer is right with the shadow government, but he's not elaborating on very many of his things because he doesn't want to be killed. Period. And I'm not saying that on any authority. I'm just saying that's what it looks like to me.
And then compartmented operations within CIA, the alphabet.
So he's going to name organizations, but he's not calling names, literally. And anyone can do that. What the fuck is hearsay? But the thing is like, so the guy knows a lot. He's risked a lot. I think he's reputable. Dr. Stephen Greer is reputable. And I do kind of want them to release more of the stuff that isn't publicly known. But the thing is like, because it's publicly known and not released properly, doesn't mean that it's publicly known. As in like even the military can't say like, oh yeah, that happened, so it's not publicly known. Does that make sense? Now it's publicly known. So when people are like this, like nothing was released, it makes news like fake news. Like, this is fake news to me right now. Like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, what do you mean nothing was released? What do you mean? Hold on. Like, do you understand how oxymoronic that statement is? If nothing was released, but everything was released? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, how many more things do you need? You got transcripts. You have videos of Apollo moon landing footage. What do you need? Like, what do you need? What do you want to hear? Is the thing, because everything is real, but what do you want to hear? I want to hear what he thinks could be so crazily hidden. Does he even have an imagination? And half these people who don't even understand how deep it could get, there's a reason why it was compartmentalized. And do you think it was for our benefit or for the other op or whatever you want to call? So we better be careful. And it's not literally something that I think we ever had control over wanting to disclose, even if we wanted to, which is another reason why Kennedy was assassinated. And yeah, so we'll keep talking about this on.
Agencies and DOW that run these programs, but they're very highly compartmented. And the other problem is that there are people currently in top administrative posts in the intelligence community that are, quite frankly, being blackmailed, one of them with Epstein file videos. And so we're not going to getting a lot of cooperation from those quarters because they're terrified to go into prison. So I think this is a much more complicated problem than we have time to unpack here.
Or they're terrified of getting killed, Dr. Greer. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about that yourself, by the way?
Of course.
13 scientists, doctors have been murdered or missing. Or, have you thought about that?
Of course. I've dealt with this since the 90s, and I have had people on my team assassinated, to be frank. And so, yes, I mean, it's something, of course, in my family and I are aware of. But the bigger problem is, what does the president really have currently? I know some of what he has. It's a lot more than what you saw. They have material.
Well, okay, then let me just, in the interest of time, and I don't want people at home to get upset. I'm not meaning to interrupt you, and you and I are friendly off the air as well, but I just want to get this. What is it? What is coming that they couldn't release Friday, that they've got to wait like 3 weeks before we get like, ooh, a picture of an alien or something? When do we see what they have? When do we get the truth about this?
They have videos and files of the craft up close, extraterrestrial, and the man-made ones, which are the dominant ones people see. And the big secret isn't the, quote, alien part. It's the covert programs using advanced reverse engineered technologies. And that's what even members of Congress I'm working with have been threatened for looking into.
Okay.
And you know who some of them are.
I do.
But they don't want to talk about that.
Here's a couple of the photos that we got released on Friday. We were just showing them. I mean, I saw this stuff, and I was like, who took this? The same guy that filmed the Sasquatch thing from the 1960s? Like, they're like, oh, look at that. That looks like something we saw in Egyptian hieroglyphics. I was like, no, it doesn't. That looks like an error through the camera or something. Like, that's nothing right there. Okay. Let me just ask you this.
I agree with you.
You called Friday a trial balloon. I can buy that, okay? And that a lot more is coming. So what specifically, besides what you just told me, do you think is coming, and why this like slow release of whatever it is?
Because there are people around him, like former aerospace CEO Bob Bigelow, who are saying do a soft release, don't rattle the cage too much, don't upset people. And so they're doing this sort of trial, small release. And I don't agree with.
So another thing with that is I think it's a failsafe. I think it's now because people are starting to go missing and die. I think it's time. I think even the president's like fourth assassination attempt is like he's like, it's time. He's like I've never seen so many people trying to kill me for no reason, and it has to be this alien shit because it's the only thing that actually ended another president's life recently in the past, not just for ending slavery, because that was fucking Lincoln. And I mean, it's just crazy, like the amount of presidents that's died in office that it's linked to UFOs is higher than the percentages of assassinations in general in office, which is kind of crazy to think, isn't that? So like, why wouldn't there be like scaredy like release tactics? Like, what the fuck again? Like, wow, like we're just gonna sit here and like put out 4 terabytes of some shit, and then China gets it, and then like they release some like nothing of their files, and then they just what, commandeer our shit, say we're lying, and then what? Where are we at? So like, you have to test the waters. You have to see how the world reacts. I mean, not just like us. I mean, like, you already see how we reacted. I mean, for 80 years, you saw how we reacted. You think it's all about us? You really think it's all about us? This is really fucking shitty, guys. We're talking about an extraterrestrial species, and you're still sitting here like, man, I think they should have just dumped all the files at once, dog. Why? What the fuck? What? So you could sit there and dig through them yourself and be like, oh wow, look at this. This shit has not ever been talked about. Let's talk about this, dude. Everything that I mean, I've given some evidence to the table, but no one's came and talked to me. It's such a subject that's so convoluted, and you just get shadow banned. It's like, why would you sit there and waste your time talking to no one? You get what I mean? Like there's literally like there's a sense of like solitude doing this, like what I'm doing right now with you guys, but it's also a sense of desperation. Like, not in the sense like I could care less about making money. It's about getting the truth out. Like it really is. And like and mirroring something that can actually be used in another country. Like I don't want how we covered up UFOs to happen in any other place in the world. Why the fuck would I want that? So like I get where they're saying just release all the files, but then like at the same time, if we're the one that's releasing it first, then we're gonna like, especially when it comes to the point of now you're saying that they're real after 80 years. And like at first you said it was real, and then like you walked it back, and now you're like 80 years. Hey, you know what? What we said back there about the weather balloon, you knew we were lying, right? We knew it was just a big joke, right? So like this is what I mean. So enough of those stories go around. You just assume that such a big wake happened that there are. Okay, that's just how history is made. The wake, and now nowadays like history is made like viral videos all over the world, like TikToks and shit. And I think it's just crazy how we live in an era now that like we can push this information out, but then we don't even have the kids' bandwidth for the next generation to care. So does it really matter? The aliens win, bro. The aliens win, dog. They gave us some technology that mesmerized us and literally got us to either can be able to Tower of Babel this shit, communicate to the point to where we could reach their level, but then God just is gonna separate us all over again because like it's like we're making abominations. Like this is crazy. Like so I mean, there's more to it, and I wish you guys would look at my deep dive into it. 24 hours of it got cut, and I'm gonna have to redo it. But like, I have all the prerequisites and the files to go through again, so I'm not worried about that. And I might just go through them all again. But and try to take notes and like add questions to what and then once I'm done presenting it, I'll go through and then tackle questions. If anybody has questions in the comments, I'll add it to my questions list and we'll go through it. But yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be communicated about and less shadow banning in general. But that's the dark government. So you got to understand that like they're threatened to take people like me down. Like they want the news to come out, but they're like, we don't want to go kill this guy because it's more trouble to go kill this guy than you just. If no one hears his shit, then like if a tree falls in the forest, does anybody like no one's around to hear it? Does it make a sound? Or like if a bear shits in the woods, does it smell? Do we know like, or is it just a thing? That's the whole concept to any of this like philosophy to this stuff. Like it really is boils down to philosophy because then like people want to play like if we can't do this and it's the only two things are it's us, an adversary, or God, or extraterrestrials, then we better be pretty quick in figuring out if it's us. And then when we can verify it's not anybody else, then we can either determine whether it's God or aliens. Like, can we talk about this? Like, nobody even really, I think, in that last thing we watched, like, no aspects of holy divinity in it at all. So, I mean, fuck. The UFOs came down and stopped the nuclear apocalypse, and we're not talking about divinity here. Like, I mean, it boils my mind down to, like, nothing. Like, what matters? Like, if you guys can't see actually what's happening. Like, and you want to talk about national security, but nukes isn't security. That's death for everyone. Nobody wants that. Not even them. It's not even somebody who gave us technology to brainwash us, to make us destroy ourselves, want nukes. You know what I mean? Like, not because it's something that they can't, like, handle. They could just suck up radiation from the sun, dog. Like, why? Nothing matters that we do. So, like, that's what I want people to understand and take away from this. That, like, your life is meaningless. Like, when it boils down, not like that, not like theoretically, like, what you do matters. Don't get me wrong. It's just, we have no capability. We have a particle beam that Tesla made that got taken in the 80 trunks of files. Like, that weapon is the only thing that we have to attack these entities, if you want to call them evil or not. And I think there's a 50-50 chance, heads or tails, if it's evil or not, just because of the convoluted, they're not talking to us, and they're not saying what they're doing. So, more likely, is it a thief in the night that came and didn't steal anything? It was just scouting? Probably. But is it a thief that maybe doesn't want to steal anything that, like, it doesn't already have? Like, it just knows? Like we're already owned? Like, it's just waiting for the time to come and, like, get what it wants without... Now, because the whole Greada Treaty with Eisenhower and in the Greys, like, there's literally, like, scientific research being done on humanoids. Like, and we're not even getting close to talking about this because people are so stuck on fucking photos. Like, I am so stupidified and done with photographs. Like, the majority of existence, we never had photos. What the fuck does that... If that shiny thing came down, would you just say, what is that? Like, what would you say? Oh, that's a fake eye I'm using? Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Or, like, I don't even understand. Like, we're not even tackling it in the right avenue of something that I think deserves, like, unaltered and unwavering bias. Like, unbiased. Like, it drives me nuts. And it's just, like, it never ends. It ceases to amaze me. Like, I thought this guy right here, Newsmax, was good. These guys were good, but it's just like, this is ridiculous. Like, me seeing something, knowing they're real, and, like, I'm not mad that I didn't see my fucking event in the files. Okay, like, I'm not. Like I know you want to think that you're that special, that, like, everything evolved, like, from your perspective, but that's not how any of this worked. Okay? So, like, you have to decouple, like, we decoupled the Earth from the center of the fucking solar system to the sun being the center of it, and we're orbiting it, and the moon's orbiting us. We gotta decouple ourselves from being the center of our universe. It's not hard. And you have to realize where the energy comes from and where thoughts originate. If we don't have any resemblance on consciousness, how do you understand what God is, let alone what aliens are capable? Do you understand what I'm getting at? Like, you're not getting to the right questions. Like, this is a preposterous avenue of approach to something that is completely interstellar. How could you approach it with literal avenues of this world? You cannot. It's showing you this. And we're still here. That's why we're still here. Because they don't want to proceed because they've given plenty of fucking evidence. And, like, we don't need to sit here and believe somebody else's story. You could look inside your soul. You could have a certain connection to God, the bridge, the Akashic record, and understand that there is something else. How the fuck it works? We're working on finding that out, and I'm sorry we don't have a blueprint for you fucking dumbasses who think that it's that easy and you want to... God gave you a Bible. If you wanted something that easy, go read the Bible. It's pretty close. You want to sit there and have perfection? Then go audit it. Go find out history and figure out what made it. Because that's how long we've been trying to figure this stuff out. For 80 years, we've been going across continents, picking together ancient ruins, trying to figure out how they became unified citadels of just, like, monumental proportions. Just galactic. And we're sitting here thinking humans did it. Like, that right there is the bias in which when I was born, somebody wiping my ass, they weren't gonna... The thing is like, you're not gonna teach that baby to build the pyramid. There's just no way. So, like, how are we, like, this naive to think that, like, oh, well, I'm 30 years old now, I can build a pyramid. Dude, you're fucking high. Like, it's just crazy that the amount of evidence, the mounting evidence of it's not even like, it's like more than 12,000 years old now is surmountable. And we can't even get there because the mainstream archaeology is connected to the same dark government as UFOs. Why? Because it needs to be. Do you understand that there's a paper trail of this stuff? That it doesn't take very long to understand that there's certain names that are involved, like Smithsonian, certain institutions, like intelligence agencies, for instance, CIA. I mean, if Jeffrey Epstein was in the CIA, can we look into the CIA a little bit? I mean, come on. Like, I get it, they helped with Iraq or Iran right now, getting that airman back, or the fucking colonel or whatever, bro, like, this is... We're talking about trillions of dollars of fraud money, in my opinion, because we weren't told where it went. Like, if anybody cares about any resemblance of transparency, we need to have a full accountability to where our money is going. If we don't understand that part of it, then we will never understand what it actually went to reverse engineer. Do you understand that? That is why I'm so interested in the fraud thing, because it really is like, then the pot called the kettle black. Because then if our government starts telling people about fraud, they're just going to point back at them and say, yo, you got a secret government, what the fuck are you talking about? And nobody wants to talk about that, because everybody's so happy about fraud being taken care of. So, in that, I don't think anybody expected that. I love it. I love it. I mean, I expected the Patriots to. I didn't think it would be, like, an open-armed, like, ceremony across everywhere. Like, Sky Australia is like, fraud is being found, thank God. Like, oh my God, like, this is insane. Like, and then the UFO fucking files drop and they're like, oh my God, there's nothing new. And they're like, wait a minute. Can we solidify the pretext of what we've leaked or whatever? I didn't, or whoever leaked or whatever. You get what I mean? But like, and then once that's figured out, then we could start tackling the stuff that maybe has never been talked about. Because we've had thought exercises over this. You get what I mean? Like, there's just little latency with this stuff with me. Like, I really can see right through all this shit. And it really is like, I would wish there was somebody like me that was around that could tell that kid, that inner me that saw this UFO, what I know now. And is able to understand as much as I have studied within all the years in between, including going to the Air Force and working on AWACS, airborne communications and electronic mission systems apparatuses, having a top secret security clearance, understanding everything that could be compartmentalized and how it works. Okay? I wish I had somebody like me. And I'm still fucking skitzed about this subject. Skitzed. Just not even there's like, not like I can't sleep at night, kind of can't sleep at night, but like mainly because I don't sleep. Like there's this, like I have this I have to like unalive myself. I have to like literally like think to the point of exhaustion, or like play games to the brink of collapse, and I'm like, I need to do this or I'm gonna like get diabetes or some shit. Like I don't know, like just something stupid, you know? Because like people be saying like lights or some shit in jail caused like diabetes because you didn't get sunlight or some dumb shit like that. So I'm just saying, like, no, I get plenty of sun, you could tell, but like it's just kind of funny. Like I've never heard that. So I don't know, I just thought I'd randomly throw that in there. So yeah, if you got diabetes, make sure you change the light bulbs. I don't know, bro. Some of the shit you hear. So like you just gotta remember to trust things that you want, but then verify that it's true. Like that's the whole motto of the airmen. And like understanding integrity, and like being able to tell when somebody's lying, or like trying to get their own narrative across, or just trying to manipulate a situation, or try to obfuscate from a situation, or try to penetrate into a situation, or try to differentiate from a situation. Like you need to understand, like there's different avenues of approach, and everybody's just wanting this weird video footage, and I think it's toxic. I think it's brain rot, and I think that like when we had the abacuses that made the Roman Empire, do you think they would have been able to do anything they had if they had a cell phone? No, because people back then would have been on their phones the entire time too. Like, do you not understand like why we are where we are? And apparently it made our society to where we are now, but why we're at the point we are right now. And it's I don't want to spill the beans, but it's kind of like a dimensional shift. Like we're shifting dimensions. We're getting there. We're like months away. Don't quote me, but apparently August. And that's what the chemtrails are in the air for. It's aluminum sodium dioxide or something like that. And it's supposed to be able to help electrify the air so it doesn't blow the atmosphere apart when this phase shift is completed for the dimensional transfer. We only have 10% capability of our brain for a reason. And we aren't even capable, most of us aren't even capable of understanding what could be. Like, really. Like, we call junk DNA. Anything. We could talk for hours. Like, this is like non-scripted. Like, I have a bowl of mac and cheese in my hand because I haven't eaten all day. And like, the only way I would still have energy is through, well, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm talking like holy. Like, this isn't like, I'm not getting like unholy vibes from what I saw. Like, I was in awe, and I was comforted by the situation when I was young, and I have a witness to it. And if the girl witness didn't react and not fear, I don't know what I would have done. I was very like impressionable at the time. I didn't have a lot of friends, and I was kind of scared of the wind. But like, for me to not be scared at that, do you understand like the amount of grit it takes to say this stuff? Like, and this not, I don't care, because how many times I've pretty much almost died in my life? Like, what's another tick on the box? Or what if the box is fully checked? You know, like those are everyday questions. Everyday thing. Like, it was getting to the point to where I thought that I would have to fight that fight along with Dr. Greer and everyone else all alone for my entire life. And now all we have is people like this on platforms of almost nearly 3 million people who just seem to think they want it all now. How unhumble.
Advice against it because the credibility of the office of the president is at stake now, and I think it needs to be done properly and more quickly.
Yeah, so two things. One, by the way, there's a rumor on the internet that that aliens, not UAPs, aliens, people from other planets, okay, whatever you want to call them, lizard people, Nordics, whatever they are, I don't know. They're not demons, are they, Dr. Greer?
Oh, no, they're not demons.
Okay. There's a rumor online. Oh, those are demons. Stop that. Stop. That's ridiculous.
No, it's ridiculous.
Here's my thought on disclosure. This is just Rob Finnerty thought. Does disclosure...
Again. Like, again. Those are good questions, but if you had a paper trail like I had and the receipts, you'd understand why to tell them they're not demons and not just say they're stupid, they're not demons. Do you get the piss posh news wash of this shit that I don't understand and or don't like rather, that is just like cheap? Like fucking AI could generically make this shit like half more interesting. Like, this is sad. Like, I mean, fuck.
Disclosure only really happened when Donald Trump steps to a microphone, like in the Oval Office, and tells the public what's really going on. Because what we got Friday was a bunch of random videos.
Again, Donald Trump has nothing to do with it. The American people haven't been an American body for so long, and now we're desperately trying to assemble when we're in the midst of an invasion, not just from illegal aliens, but real aliens. And now we're gonna sit here and be like, who knew what? Like, are you fucking kidding me? For 80 years, we knew who knew what. We had the 1st Platoon Army Battalion Brigade gonna march down to Area 51 because the president didn't have authority to know. Okay, like, do you understand? Like, presidents don't fucking matter. Why are you talking about this stupid shit?
And everyone said, see, there it is. Look at this. Most transparent Oval Office ever. I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Well, no, I mean, actually,
nobody knows. I know because I've seen one. Do you understand that this is completely fucked for the people who actually seen shit? This is terrible. This news coverage is shit.
In the 60s released better information. My archive has better photos,
the 60s released better information. Sure, you know why? Because it wasn't that old yet. Because they were scared that the government might actually get fucking wind of what they were doing and actually be held accountable in their lifetimes. When that left, it got bad. And we can't figure out when it got bad? That's bad in itself. What do you mean? Like, do you understand, like, how bad it must be that we are barely releasing when we were in the Cold War midst of World War III nuclear apocalypse, we're just now releasing those. When the other team had that information. The other president of Russia had that information, but the American people were held silent for 40 years after that. Like it was fucking AIDS or some shit. Like, I've never seen anything like it, and now, yes, I get it, you want more. We all want more, but this isn't how you get it. This is disgrace. We fought so hard to get this topic on the fucking air, and this is how we act? This is a despicable me shit.
Camera at home undeveloped that has better photos.
I'm fucking crashing out, but I think I have a valid reason. This is despicable.
They're just going to lose credibility if they don't step up to the plate and release what some of the information I know they have. I know that Secretary Hegseth and other people have obtained more distinct evidence, but it's not being released. And so I think you're right. I think we need to demand that they not try to gaslight us on this.
Well, just be honest with us. Don't tell us
Right.
you're going to do one thing and then release that in a
Correct.
four-word quote from Buzz Aldrin saying, "We saw a fairly bright light." Thanks, Buzz. Great stuff. Dr. Greer, good to see you as always. You're tip of the
Good to see
spear
you.
on this stuff, and I really appreciate you you keeping us informed. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is news.
And another thing I want to know is, are we all getting the same files? Like, is there any way that, like, there's an like a bracket top clearance, a declassified top secret clearance version of these? That's why we didn't release all these yet. You have to understand that, like, we are given not only in the files, we're given a whole playbook. We're not just given the real. We're given what they are, why they're real, where they came from, what's going on, and, like, you guys are sitting here like, we want more. I am just... You don't deserve it. You don't deserve to see it. That's why. Did you ever think about that? So self-centered. It's like the thing they say, don't meet your heroes because they'll let you down. One of those things. Like, I've always wanted to talk to all these people, like Dr. Stephen Greer, all these, Tyler from Secure Team, all these different people, but then it's just like it's made me, like, become what I wanted them to be. Does that make sense? Like I fell flat on my face with my heroes, and I kept my receipts, and I was like, I bought into this. I wanted this for me. You know what? Fuck it. I already bought into it. I know I have it. It's supposed to be for me. But apparently I didn't think it was like 100% like what I bought, I guess. Does that make sense? It's just like, not like almost like a buyer's remorse, but like just the fact of like not understanding how they could be so naive. Like, really, like, I mean, if it's been a secret this long and they can move as fast as I've seen them 13 years ago, there's no catching up to them. Do you understand? Like, there is like zero chance. And like the mere fact that if we get close is because they want us to. So, yeah, they wouldn't be demons because demons wouldn't want us to do anything like that. Yeah, better ourselves? Fuck, why would a demon want that? I live with a schizophrenic person who is possessed by demons, and they don't want anything but the death of police officers and CIA intelligence. So you tell me what that is. Endless with that shit. Fucking Zyprexa and some other mood stabilizer fucking... He doesn't take that shit, he goes crazy. And like, he's got a reason. What is everybody else's reason for being so self-centered and crazy? Like, just disconnected with the fact of a whole universe out there. Like, we are not the Earth model, center of the galaxy universe deal. Like, each person is not that. Like, that's not how this works. Like, we are all together in this on like this conga line around this God of who made us. Not one person, maybe Jesus, is better than everyone else. And we're supposed to be through him. And I say maybe because this is the Bible era. You know what I mean? Like, prove me wrong type thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're getting close to having time machines. So, like, all I'm trying to get at is, I wish we had less stigma around it so people could actually talk about it without it being hearsay, and then talk about it in a more scientific process, not just data, but like philosophical scientific as well, because we need to understand where this is taking us as a culture. Because if we can't just sit here and answer these questions now, it was because our culture that we were brought up on, Christianity, couldn't really gel with it right away, right? Some people say that aliens are the death of Christianity. I don't necessarily believe that, but I could understand where you could think that, but like that's not the truth. So like you need to understand, like, when that little devil's whispering in your ear trying to deceive you, and when somebody's shouting the righteousness and you're like, okay, yeah, I should listen to that, not like this little weird fucking wisp of weird data that like just came into my pineal gland. Like, you have no idea the shit that I know. Like, this shit is so easy to teach to somebody, but it's like I can't get the attention span from somebody to teach them. Literally. Like, that is literally the problem. So it's like I can host a full college course lectures on this shit, and like I only have like a few people maybe that like ever want to hear about alien stuff. Why? I don't know. Like I try not to be so weird about it. Like I'm trying to just approach it by facts and not like hearsay or gobbledygook or like, you know, politics or whatever, dude. But like when they said in that Congress thing, when it's a bipartisan thing, when both sides are wanting transparency, you got to understand that it's time, and that we need to focus on that it's happening, and that we need to just reinforce the fact that it's coming out. Thank them for doing what they're doing. Thank them for taking the opportunity to actually correct a major damaging strike on our reputation of lying to our civilians for so long. If you lie about something so simple, what else are you lying about? That's the shit people get irritated with. And we have to fucking have things like MK Ultra dropping acid in the whole town's water supply, watching the civilians froth at the mouth, and we're gonna sit here and call that science. That is the shit that our taxpayer dollars has paid for. And we're supposed to sit here and act like it's hunky-dory, like they will never do anything bigger than that. They will never touch a bigger town. They would never try to touch the world. Never. They would never be so brash, bold, and brazen. Never. Okay, so anyway, I've been let's see how long we've been streaming about this. It's probably been 2 hours now, something. Yeah, 2 hours and 3 hours, basically. 3 hours here in a couple minutes. And it's turning 2 o'clock. Wow. I might have to show you guys this Luigi Ventitelli thing from the Y-Files. Maybe not today, but tomorrow. It came out. It came out yesterday, and I try to give the main people that I like a couple days, like for their stuff to come out before I use it on mine, like just out of courtesy. But like if it's something that's really important, then obviously I'll mirror it right away, like a assassination attempt or something like that. But like, you know what I mean? Like if it boils down to just random news that doesn't really like we just want people to hear, then obviously that's getting mirrored. But when it comes to somebody's like actual work, like somebody who actually got this guy, the director of S4, to go on the Y files, I thank you so much. That's gonna be such a good thing to watch, and I kind of want to watch it before you guys, so I kind of understand where I want to direct my thoughts when I want to talk about it with you guys. Because sometimes, like you saw when I was talking over this Newsmax thing, sometimes it gets so long, and I drone off because not only it's just me, but the fact that I'm trying to encapsulate a live show and a good DVR feed at the same time. And that's kind of like, it's either one or the other for showmanship, really. So, like, you gotta kind of, like, pick. Like, you can't just be sitting here looking at your comments and, like, commenting during a show, like, and then, like, I see other people, like, have gadgets and stuff that you can do that, but that's so not, like, like my normal way that I see people like getting news and stuff, like looking at their feeds and like, oh, did you see this? Like, no, like, okay, like there's has to be better ways that you guys get your news, right? Like, I read articles. Like, do people read news articles anymore? Like, this is getting kind of crazy. Like, I don't even understand, man. But what I am trying to get at is, we will be talking about this stuff more, and I kind of wanted to keep this short because the other ones are kind of short too, and I need to save the long UFO files one for when I'm actually doing the file dump on the files again. I had a 24-hour one that got taken down, and I have to redo it because it wasn't uploaded properly, and it was the day that my dog died. So that was another reason why I didn't want to end the stream, and it was just it changed. Like there was 3 hours on that stream where I was just crying with my girl, like my wife, because of it. So like I didn't, like I wasn't on stream crying. Like the stream was just on, nothing on it. So like I mean I kind of like how it's not on there, but at the same time like I did keep all the information so I could just easily redo it. So it's not that big of a deal to me. Like it's just an inconvenience. Like it was like 2 days to get that stuff like pretty much solid and like whatever. But anyway, like I'm not gonna start that right now. Like I want to, but it's just there's no way. Like it's a good bedtime story for me because like I'm the kid that wanted to turn its bed into a rocket ship to go to the moon. Like like I'm the guy that wanted to become an astronaut when I grow up. Like like there's people that like used to dream about that like could never do it now. Like, or maybe because SpaceX is actually shooting people up there at a cheaper cost, it actually might be possible. But, like, it was just such a pipe dream. Like, even though it just seems so attainable that, like, you could just taste it. Because you know that all of our civilization in America's is, if it was done once, oh, I'm pretty sure we could do it again. And, like, look at us going back to the moon. It just, nobody could have done it like that. Just like, oh, let's draw a plan up. Oh, let's just do it. Boom, 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 boom. Like it was just restarting the engine. Like, and people just want to say that the moon landings and everything was fake, and it just blows my fucking mind. Like it really does. Like it really does. Like really does. But anyway, like you can have fake tapes and still have the moon landings. Like you understand? Like two things could happen. Like, do you understand that? Like the tapes could have been corrupted. Like if they were using film, they could have been overexposed and all the film could have been whitewashed. Nobody's talking about any of this. So why do they only have audio tapes? Like there's just like, and they want to say like, oh, we have the biggest money budget in the world, we didn't give them a camera. Like, oh, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm so tired of that statement. Like, Neil deGrasse Tyson, fucking shut the fuck up. Like, you're telling me that you have an astrophysicist brain, you work at a planetarium, and you're gonna say that there's no aliens, bro? Shut the fuck up. Like, for real. Like, no disrespect, dog. I love you, but you need to, like, learn that you are hindering the approaching of this subject when you say statements like that. Like, when you just blatantly say, oh, there's no way. Because we would have photos by now. When I saw what I saw in my eyes when I was 10 years old, if I had a camera in my eye, I don't know if I could fucking show you it. Neil, what the fuck do you want from me? Like, do you want to be there? It's almost easier to build a time machine and get you there that way to see it than it is to record what I saw, Neil. Do you understand that? When things that we're capturing camera stuff, it captures photons. What if something is not even using photons? You're not even asking the right questions. It's using phonons. Do you know what a fucking phonon is? It's basically power but acoustic. It's like a whole other level of shit. That's what I'm saying. We're going to have a dimension shift. And people don't understand what's going to happen, and a lot of people might die because of it. And I'm having a hard time with my reality of wanting to save everyone when I know the impending doom that's coming. And it is just almost unstoppable. And I want to say that there's hope, but there really is, if we all are one, there's hope. If we cannot do this together, there is no way the next generations will have any better picture than what we have right now, and it will go in reverse again. We cannot have it be covered up. We cannot have it be extinguished, and we cannot have it be rolled back. This is not a cheap shot. This is the fucking way that it has to be. If this is how it's coming out, why be so negative about it? Dude, who told you it was negative? Like, it's like some of this philosophical shit, like I try to be so unbiased when it comes to this stuff, but like I'm telling you, this subject hits too close to home for me to let that filter audit what I'm saying. Does that make sense? Because like I can sit here and not tell you all this shit. I could sit here and say that the last couple things we watched were fucking phenomenal, but I think it's a bunch of fucking bullshit. I think it's awesome that they're trying, but they're not trying nearly hard enough. And the people who are really trying harder, it seems like they got threatened with their lives too many times to want to fucking do anything else. Like, do you not see that? Like, and then there's some of the people here that are dying. What do you do then? It was like at 10, and Trump was like, well, I don't know. Is it coincidence? At 10, he was still saying coincidence. Bro, and then you damn the audacity when he said a couple times, I'm not into that stuff too much. A lot of people are into the alien stuff. I'm not into it. I never thought about it. I've never been into it. I think that's his safety net for plausible deniability because of how much shit he's actually seen and fucking touched and witnessed himself. Papers, files, whatever. But still, it shouldn't mean that, like, you don't trust him because he wants to stay alive, because there's not a good track rate of people protecting the person that's trying to lead the country. So please, think about that. And why would it be easy for somebody to say they want to kill somebody that's trying to lead somebody? Because they would rather be the leader, or they would rather no leader, or some shit. They just want some weird fucking free-for-all. Like, no. Like this communism free-for-all shit. No. We're not doing that. Dumb ideas never work. And it's just a dumb idea. There's no way you can just have free fucking food infinitely and free transportation infinitely, New York. What the fuck are you Mondani? Like this shit right here. And it's just like, we have people like that would rather think that like money is okay to just be squandered by people who just rather be addicted to drugs and want that extra free food to maybe sell to somebody that can't get to the store to get the free food. Do you understand how crazy this shit's gonna get? Like, what if you had to go to the weigh station, sorry, that's the one near me, a food bank, and actually get government assistance food? Oh my God. And you only got what was in the box. I was really good too, but people couldn't fucking handle that, could they? They really couldn't. Oh, this isn't enough choices. Oh, this shit sucks. Bro, were you on the Wild West campaign getting shot at by fucking Indians scalping your cousins? What the fuck? Like, it blows my head gasket thinking the spoiled shit of this. And then, like, we're just, like, in love with, like, fast food like it's some kind of, like, fucking cure to cancer or something. Like, for real. Like, it drives me nuts. We grew up on shows like Super Size Me. We know about the food enhancers and how it changes our brain chemistry, and we still fucking eat the shit. Like, good little slaves. Like, it's fucking depressing. Like, beyond. Wonder why things get cancer. You wonder why things go wrong. Because your body is being attacked constantly. Not only by the food you eat, but the stuff that you're around, the frequencies that you're allowing to be in your area. You don't have any control over anymore in the cities. I don't live in the city. You can't pay me to live in a city. Damn. It's not safe. Maslow's hierarchy of needs are not being met. Look it up. I already did a lecture on that. Why would I want to be in a city where we can't even trust our own people are safe? Why? First places that go wrong in any movie. Cities. You know why? Because everyone's right there. It's too unpredictable. You got fucking 90 million fucking people trying to kill over some simple food items. You don't have any ability to hunt for yourselves at all. You're sitting there, open season on cannibalism to stay alive. Why would you want to be in a fucking metropolis? Fucking depressing. We gotta have shows like Food Inc. show how terrible, how we treat our animals, and how we plump them full of fucking antibiotics and different shit that we wonder why we get the diseases we do, why our immune systems are compromised. And apparently we need people like, RFK to tell us how to eat right. I think that's phenomenal that he's doing it. I just think it's too little too late. I think if it's somebody like him that thinks that, and it's not being implemented at a school level, where it was a little bit back in 2006 or something when I was in school, but for one half of a trimester, because people couldn't understand the language. Trans fats, saturated fats, what the fuck's the difference? People are just barely even trying to learn English in that timeline where I'm at. It was stressful to see. I learned it. It was fine for me. But for other people, they were like, oh my God. What is an oil? I thought it was for my car. They didn't know about fucking cars, but they don't know how to fucking eat. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this shit is like, it's so like, wow. And then like, do you understand like how like a lot of this is revolving around money? Because the human brain can know all this stuff. It can do it all. Like, and more? It can fucking levitate, bro. But you want to sit here and say like, oh, I'm too lazy. I'm going to pay this guy to do this shit. I watched some guy change my oil the other day. Made my fucking head spin, okay? Literally. I've watched my dad change oil and it made my head spin. Okay? You just have to have the know-hows, the tools, and the grit and will to do it. And I think it's phenomenal that we're trying to get the grit and will to get this stuff out there. And enough of my rambling for this. I think I'm going to play a game for a little bit and go to bed. But anyway, thank you guys for sticking with me. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this with other people who like to learn about different things and try to have different views about it. Non-political, biased. Like I say, like I try to look at Democrats' views and Republican views, although like I am leaning more Republican, not gonna lie, because like there isn't a true Democrat in my opinion. Like a long time ago, as I was a kid, I thought of myself as the bridge between parties, so I just try to run on that. And I don't really even think there should be parties. Like I said, like that's my deep down inflection, but some people aren't ready for that. Some people just need a group of people to amass behind us. Start screaming like those fucking so fucking like I can't even fucking believe it, you know? Like, it really is so primal. Like, it just draws my fucking bones. But, like, I will calm down, and I will catch you guys later. Thank you. Stay safe, and have a